Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the meeting of the Dudley Charlton Regional School Committee. It is Wednesday, May 10th, 2023. It is 7:01 p.m., and we're at Shepherd Hill Regional High School. Today, I have some guests from Mason Road School. I have Luke, Millie, Miyuki. I practiced it so much. Sorry. Miyuki and Kenji. Did I get that right? Mm-hmm. Okay. So they're going to help us say the Pledge of Allegiance. So if everybody can rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Go ahead. You guys can start it. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great. So before we have our moment of silence, my friends wanted to just make an announcement. Go ahead.
Happy Teachers Appreciation Week.
Thank you. Good job. Okay. So we're going to have you guys go over towards Mrs. Desto, okay? Thank you so much. And then I'll get to your portion in just a second. Good? Nice job. Okay, thank you, everyone. We're going to take a moment of silence. Okay, so now to begin our meeting, we're going to just move, just as a point of order, we're going to move the Mason Road Elementary Student Showcase up next so that our students can get home. So if Ms. Desto would like to come and start her presentation.
Thank you very much for having us tonight. I'm excited to bring our 4 students from Mrs. Faubert's classroom who have been working extremely hard this year on their reading and their writing. Now, let me tell you, they're going to read you something they wrote. You've got to figure out what it is they're describing. It's hard. It's a hard thing. But they've been working really hard, and they're phenomenal readers, and I'm so excited to share what they have with you guys tonight. Okay, so first up, we have Miss Millie Young. Now, listen up and make sure I'm clear.
Mrs. Desto, would you like them to read from here so that they can face the audience and still see all the members?
I can actually move this over.
Yeah, if you want to move it over,
Okay,
they can kind of sit. I just want to make sure we capture them too.
All right.
Okay, the reader gets to sit in the chair,
One
okay?
at a time, guys. Okay.
What am I? You hang me on the wall. I keep track of what you do. I am a circle. I start with a C. I end with a K. I have a black frame. I have 2 hands that are black and one is red. In Mrs. Faubert's room, it has stars around it. It has numbers 1 through 12. Teachers use me a lot. Kids don't use me a lot. What am I?
Do you guys know what she was
Yes.
describing?
Yes.
All right.
No, not you
All right,
guys.
Luke, give it away. What was she describing?
A clock.
Isn't that phenomenal? Nice job,
Look over
Millie.
there.
Nice job, little lady. All right. Up next is Miyuki.
What am I? What am I? Something little. What am I? I am something that feels soft and warm. I look very fluffy and I love to nap. I like to scratch things with my claws. I hate water. I make a sound that starts with an M. I really like this. What am I? I know.
Does anybody, any of our adults know what we're talking about?
I know what you are.
Uh-oh, Miss Olivia might know.
I think it's a cat.
Yes!
Good job, Olivia.
Nice job. All right, who's next?
Kenji.
Luke or
Kenji.
Kenji?
Kenji can go first. because we're twins.
All right, Kenji, what do you have?
What am I? I am red and white. My shape is an upside down J. I am hard to bite and I am kind of crunchy. I feel very smooth. I smell a little bit sweet. I have red and white stripes.
Ooh, I know.
You think you know, Mrs. Carmignani?
I think I do. I think it's a candy cane.
Yes.
We can't fool these guys. All right,
Luke.
Luke, last and certainly not least, Mr. Luke.
What am I? I am in outer space and I am bigger than Jupiter. I am very hot. I have rays. You cannot see me at night. You see me in the sky, but sometimes the clouds hide me. What am I? I know. Some grown-ups know. I know.
Are you the sun?
Yes.
Wow. You guys did a fabulous job, but this is also just a reflection of what's happening in the classroom with our CKLA and all the descriptive words that are being used and all the hard work each and every student is putting in, and certainly all the planning that goes behind it with the teachers. So we are so appreciative. Thank you for letting us join you, and hopefully we starts the meeting off with some smiles. Right? Right?
Does anyone have any questions for our students? We're good?
All right.
I got a question for Big Man. What's your favorite subject in school?
Gem.
Jen.
Mine's art.
You like art?
Yeah. Mine's art. And also the club I take. Computer and gym.
I thought you guys were going to say everything about school. And I'm a little disappointed.
Everything.
All right, Luke, you got it.
Everything.
All right, thank you so much for coming, and
Very much.
make sure you go right home and go to bed.
That's right. Go home.
Good luck on that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Do you want to just do these guys next? Yes. Yes, yep, thank you. All right. Thank you. That was so nice. That was cute. Before we start, I just want to make sure we introduce our newest member, Nicole Enberg. Thank you. Congratulations. Yes, and Mr. Lovell was reelected as well, so congratulations to you. Thank you. And just so that you know, as Jamie Terry has left, we have Pauline O'Coin stepping up as our vice chair. So, thank you, Pauline. Good. Okay, so we're going to just go right to the consent agenda items. Does anyone have any consent agenda items that they want taken out? No. Okay. So I'd entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda items. Okay.
Second.
Second. Great. All those in favor? Great. Motion passes unanimous.
Sorry, Nicole, did you vote?
She did.
Yeah,
Yep, she
perfect.
raised her hand.
Just-
All right, and now we have done the Mason Road Showcase, and we'll move on to the Dudley Charlton Leadership Council.
Madam Chairwoman,
That's
sorry.
okay.
In school committee, I'd like to introduce the Dudley Charlton Leadership Council. This was formerly known as, and often referenced as the Superintendent's Council here at Shepherd Hill Regional High School. It's a great organization, and it still is one of the best parts of my existence here as a superintendent, to meet with students. We had our last meeting, we had a very rich discussion about AI as a group, which I thought was really good. It's maybe a little off topic from what they're presenting tonight, but it is a group that I respect highly and really appreciate. And I'd like to invite up the offices for the Dudley Charlton Leadership Council to present to you this evening, as this has become an annual presentation.
And you can bring a chair with you, too, if you needed an extra chair.
Either side, both sides, one side. There's only 2 mics and 2 chairs, so if you want to bring up other chairs, you can.
Yeah, thank you, Mrs. True.
But I'm sure we'll start with President of DCLC, Nicole Moore. And just tell me when to move the slide, okay?
Okay. Okay, hello everybody. We're the officers from Dudley Charlton Leadership Council, and we're just here to briefly talk about our projects and what we've done over the past couple years with the guidance of Mr. LaMarche.
So tonight we're going to talk about some stuff that we've done throughout the year, our goals as the Leadership Council, our past projects, what we're currently working on, and what the future holds for us.
So as Mr. LaMarche said, I'm Nicole Moore. I'm a senior here at Shepherd Hill, and I'm the president.
I'm Nicholas D'Amelio. I'm the secretary, and I'm the junior.
I'm Allison Castaneda. I'm a junior, and I'm the treasurer.
I'm Rami Rashid, and I'm the vice president.
Something that's really unique about the DCLC is that we're 21 members, including us four, and we comprise of all grades. So we kind of get the perspective of all different freshmen through seniors on how they view Shepherd Hill and what they think needs to change, and from there we can take action.
All right, so our goals. Our first and foremost goal is to empower our fellow students by sustaining enriched learning environment and throughout the Dudley Charlton community. Our second goal is to act as a voice for the student body and discuss current issues and events at Shepherd Hill, and to construct year-long projects that will benefit the needs of the district as a whole. And we will show some examples of that later on in the slideshow.
So here are some of our past projects. For the past 4 years, we've had a series of both long-term and short-term projects. But to start, we've had last year, we installed EpiPens. There were already some in the nurse's office, but we decided it would be best to implement 2 more, both into the gym and the cafeteria, just to keep staff and students safe. And then we also last year started our internship project, where upperclassmen can go to either Mason Road, Dudley Elementary, and Dudley Middle School, and have a teaching internship and teach kids any sort of subject. This was during their class time, so I think it was during 2 periods. And yeah, I've heard it was pretty successful. So
Awesome.
yeah,
It's awesome. We love it.
yeah. So. And next we have our DCLC website, which if you don't know, that was founded in 2019, and it mostly acted as like something to help the freshmen transition. It has a lot of resources on there. You can just click the link if you want, just to briefly go through it really quick. Most recently, we've added our AP resource page, which has a variety of resources, such as Khan Academy links. It has all 16 AP courses that Shepherd Hill has to offer, and all sorts of links and information that can be useful for kids who don't know what the AP program is and what the classes really entail. So it's a good opportunity for kids to understand what the AP classes entail.
So currently this year, we kind of took a unique approach, and usually we try to do one big project for the group. But we decided that by going through and having discussions and looking at the applications for our group, we found that on the top of everybody's minds was the mental health and how COVID affected the mental health of our students. So we decided to break up into a few different groups, small groups, and each one had a unique project and different path they took to make ways they thought to improve the mental health. And one of those ways was through the DCLC website. As Nicole said, it's the long-going project. And one of those was a Q&A forum. And on that forum, students who were anxious or didn't know what was coming in high school, they could go and ask questions. And people who have gone through the process, like high schoolers or alumni, could then answer the questions that they had. So it kind of eased the transition from middle schoolers to high school, or even students in Shepherd Hill right now who had questions about the school.
So like Nick talked about, our main project this year was mental health and how we can improve it. And some of the projects that we're going to further talk about, one of them was the designated library times. This project was by Sophie McCarty, Chloe Graves, and Madeline Parker. The update for the DCL website for students to ask questions regarding the school by Rosalie Knowlton, Lily Lurden, Tim Krasinski, Donovan Ennis, and the teacher-student check-ins by Helen Weems and Sophia Poplowski. And Nicole's further going to explain what these projects were.
So our main goal for the Designated Library Times project was to spread awareness about the availability of library and how often kids can come in and study. We put posters all up around the school to increase awareness again, that kids also can come in before school, when 7:15, and after school when the library closes at 2:30. It can also come in during lunch if they need to, during their lunch period. So anyway, this is targeted towards kids without directed studies who wanted more time in school to get their work done, who didn't have access outside of school. We also, as Nick just said, we updated the CLC website for the Q&A forum, and this website really just helps ease the transition for incoming freshmen and for current students.
And the last one we had was teacher-student check-ins. Sophia Poplowski and Helena Wimes, they tried to, basically, they're going to let students receive more frequent check-ins to ensure that trust and communication is established between students and teachers through, frequent, consistent check-ins, and yeah.
For the future of this group, where, like we said, we continue to work on the website and adding more resources and projects that we can add there. But only these 3 mental health projects. We have many more, but some of them haven't been done yet. So those are definitely going to be implemented as more people finish their projects up. And what we like to do for our main projects is we like to survey other students in our groups, and kind of listen to what their concerns are. So for the future of our project, it kind of depends on what the students need and what they say we need in the school.
That's it. So we'll open it up to any questions that you might have.
I don't know if you said this, and maybe I just missed it. Is the Q&A form for like upcoming students or students already here, is it anonymous?
I don't believe so. I think we thought it was, but I think you can create a profile on the website, and yeah, I don't believe it is anonymous, no.
And then the check-ins, what specifically, like checking in with teachers, like how do you check in? And like, is that also applicable to guidance counselors?
I think it's more to like, I guess, what's the word?
Go ahead, sorry.
So I know that I haven't personally seen the form, but Sophia, I talked to her about it, and I think it's more of to check in with the teachers on like their methods and how they like respond to how they teach, or how they feel like in their classroom, if they have a good relationship with the teacher or if they need special assistance with anything like that. And I think although it's right now with the teachers, I definitely think we could expand it to the counselors, because I think the counselors at our school are underutilized. So if we could create a connection with the teachers or the students and counselors, that would also be great.
Yeah, and just to add to that, it was kind of to mimic, usually they get a survey at the end of the year saying like a teacher evaluation type thing. So it's kind of more, that's more on like the teacher side of it. So that's how they can improve. But I think it's also how like, again, like Nick said, creating that connection. I think that's important, so.
Why don't we let Mr. LaMarche have a chance to just kind of explain that a little bit more?
Oh, I just wanted to backfill it a little bit. Right now, that's still in pilot form, and Sophia and Helena are working with Principal Elwell and myself on that particular project right now. But it's definitely something that DCLC wants to push forward, but we're working on the structures of that right now. So that's kind of where it is on that particular project. Okay? And the only other thing I would add is we're up for elections. Next meeting we meet, there'll be elections for new officers. We really wish our seniors well and our current officers that are seniors well going into the next endeavor. And then we will look for applications. One thing that DCLC has really worked hard on is to have a sustainable process for officers as well as applications to become membership of the DCLC at all grade levels. So that I really appreciate, that the students continue to make sure that it's open to anybody and everybody, and it's but it is a process, and it will be a sustainable group for years to come. So
Great, thank you. I just want to let you know that, before we had someone come and talk about the internship opportunity that you have all started, and I just want to say, like, after hearing about it and hearing about the impact that it really creates among students, I was able to bring it back to my district and place a student in an elementary school, and she's loving it. So, you don't just, it's not just here that you're affecting other communities as well, so thank you.
I want to echo that. So my son has actually been able to benefit from the internship. He has one of his students that comes in, and he's built great relationships, and he's even gone to her senior game, and they loved to see her out on the court and stuff. So it's a really great program.
Great. And thank you to our principals for supporting that as well. We appreciate it. Did anyone else have any questions?
The only other thing I want to say, I don't know if you noticed, but Rami came in late because he was at a track meet today. How'd you do today? Did you do okay?
Yeah.
Yeah? Good. So he was running in a little bit late, and but I really appreciate him coming today. Literally. But no, it's a fantastic group of students, and again, as I said, it's one of the best parts of my existence here as a superintendent, so.
Okay. Thank you for all you do. Do you have anything else you want to tell us, or? No? I don't think so, no. Okay. Thank you so much. We
Thank
really
you.
appreciate
Thank
you
you.
coming. I'll give you a minute to settle. Okay. As we move on, we'll go to communications. Does any of our members have any communications they wish to share? Yes, go ahead.
So, May 17th, so next Wednesday, Charlton Middle School Library, CPAC is meeting. We're going to do it hybrid again, since people really did like it last time. We had 47 registrations for the bullying workshop. So this workshop is actually on transitions, age 14 and up. So it's all about the IEP process, going towards your secondary and post-secondary vision and what's next.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for bringing that information to us.
What time was that?
7 o'clock.
Wonderful.
6:30 is the board meeting if you want to come volunteer.
Okay, and we're going to move to our, yes, go ahead.
Madam Chair, the school committee, as you're aware, you did receive communications from a district office staff member regarding fiscal year '24, from a reading specialist, from an art teacher, and some members have heard communication from our school nurses regarding the FY '24 budget. So I just wanted to make sure that
Yes.
people, that the public knows that those communications did come through.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, anything else? No. All right, we're going to move on to our student representative report. Miss Olivia Lombardi.
Hey fans, back again. We got a lot of stuff going on because seniors are graduating, aka me. So the seniors will be graduating June 4th at the DCU Center, which is exciting. Graduating seniors, please remember to transfer any important emails, documents, slides to a personal account because they're deleting our DCRSD accounts. Senior class trip to Block Island, May 31st. Cap and gown photos, order forms, and tickets will be distributed after the rehearsal on Thursday, June 1st, seniors. Go to that, it's mandatory. 8 tickets will be provided at graduation. If you don't need them, give them back because someone else might need them. The seniors get to walk through the schools that they attended on June 3rd, which I'm so excited for. I want to go see all my old teachers and be like, hey, what's
Former.
up?
Former teachers.
Former.
They're not old.
You'll understand that someday.
Someday you'll understand.
Okay. So the Shepherd Hill Music Department is hosting their Disney-themed spaghetti dinner this Friday. Unfortunately, the Saturday one got canceled and was refunded. So if you want to buy new tickets, it's Friday, here, 6 p.m., spaghetti. Show choir auditions take place May 22nd and 24th. Be there or be square. On Monday, May 15th, the GSA will be holding their annual Day of Silence, and they're selling their buttons. The black ones are if you don't want to speak the entire day, and the white ones, which I bought one, is if you are supporting them but have to speak throughout the day. And they're only $1, so please buy from our GSA. It's really important. The last day of school is 6/14. It's a half day, 11 a.m. Another thing is shout out to our capstone projects. They're all lined up in the hallway. There's some really, really cool ones out there. I saw one for like an insulin case, which, you know, I'm not diabetic, but it's important to know all of this stuff, even if you're not personally affected. And last thing is shout out to Mr. Elwell. He is the birthday boy tonight.
For Mr. Elmo. Olivia, thank you. Entertaining as always. We have one more meeting with you.
I think.
We will
Yes.
cherish it.
Yes.
Okay. Ooh, that's a little out there. All right. We're going to move on to our superintendent's report.
Madam Chair and School Committee, I do have a couple of items to share with you this evening. One was it didn't make the written report for the public. I did enjoy CPAC coffee, chat and coffee and chat.
Coffee and conversation.
Coffee and conversation last Wednesday, May 3rd, at the Sturbridge Coffee Roasters in Dudley. So I've attended one in Charlton and now one in Dudley. I look forward to another one in the future. The coffee's fantastic, but the conversation is as well. So I just wanted to share that with you as a committee. From there, I do want to, as a superintendent, I want to publicly congratulate Ms. Jamie DeLovo in her successful Charlton reelection in return to the Dudley Charlton Regional School District School Committee. These are trying times, and your commitment to the committee and to the district is acknowledged and appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you.
In addition, I congratulate and welcome for the first time school committee member, Ms. Nicole Enberg. We also appreciate your interest in becoming a member of the Dudley Charlton Executive Board, and I look forward to your contributions as we navigate the current fiscal typo, should be say dilemmas, not delimits, but it is delimits. I mean, just get kind of a little bit of a slip there, in front of us. Unfortunately, you're stepping right in at one of the most difficult times in the district. We look forward to your insight, direction, and support of the students, staff, and administrators in the Dudley Charlton Regional School District. So welcome aboard. Last Friday, May 5th, was our annual Art Through the Ages at Shepherd Hill Regional High School. The parking lot was full, and the artwork was on full display from one end of the cafeteria through the gymnasium. This is always an incredible display of artwork from our students and is facilitated by our district art teachers. I recognize publicly our DCRSD art teachers, Don Gravel, Deborah Griffin, Crystal Logan, Amy Paquette, Shane Shimke, Kathleen Small, and our art show co-advisors, Lisa Hines and Stephanie Lashour. I don't know if I forgot somebody. I feel like I forgot somebody, maybe not, for the support in showcasing our student work. Additionally, I recognize Shepherd Hill Regional High School 12th grade advanced art students who have a showcase table of their work on display. Teddy Amaral, Sydney Rowland, who, if you recall, Sydney was the one who designed the 50th anniversary logo. Charles Karp, Julia Corvo, Jared Bezanson, Lily Reyes, Marlee Eckbold, Jessica Sermayak, Ashley Erickson, and Lauren Dyer. So congratulations to those 12th grade advanced art students as well. This is the time of the year that, and I also have the age, in case you didn't go, I do have the, if anyone wants to see it, to pass it around, so. This is the time of the year we recognize our middle school NELMS, or New England League of Middle Level Distinguished Student awardees. An awardee is chosen by their school as someone with the following qualities. Someone that has qualities of teamwork, dependability, productivity, service to others, respect for diversity, personal goals, empathy for others, and someone who has positive interactions with others. This year's recipients are Thomas Ide and Olivia Jankowski from Dudley Middle School, and Addison Dono and Colden Blackwell from Charlton Middle School. Congratulations to all 4 NELMS Middle Level Distinguished Student Award recipients. Yesterday, May 9th, 2023, we completed a second session with the Edward Davis Company. If you recall, I reported in December of 2022 that we received a $7,000 grant from the Fells Family Foundation to partner with the Edward Davis Company and complete multi-hazard tabletop exercises on 2 occasions, internally and with external representation. An internal engagement held on April 5th, 2023, provided the DCRSD staff to include district administrators, principals, assistant principals, the nurse coordinator, maintenance, and our school resource officer, an opportunity to work and walk through active shooter scenarios and touch upon other multi-hazard experiences. Our engagement yesterday included the same internal DCRSD working group, but also had school committee representatives, the chiefs of police, and fire from Dudley and Charlton, additional first responders, Mr. Justin Dolan, the Assistant Director of Campus Services Department of Facilities Management at Nichols College, and Mr. Jason Osborne, the Manager of Emergency Management and Preparedness for UMass Memorial Health Harrington site. We continue tabletop scenarios regarding relocation and reunification. Additionally, we discuss communication protocols and processes in the event of a multi-hazard experience for Dudley Charlton Regional School District. To that end, we have identified a number of areas that require enhanced protocols and areas for further development, which are relocation, reunification, and communication, all of the areas we covered. The time was invaluable to have all community partnerships face-to-face to reinforce open lines of communication. Dudley Charlton Regional School District's work in these areas require interdepartmental voices and agreement. What we learned is that everyone wants to ensure the best possible outcome, that we all have a role, but we must understand, appreciate, and respect each other's roles in any event. And then the rest of the report continues the fiscal 2024 budget priorities that were established by the school committee. And to end, though, I did write a few notes, because we are going to get into the FY24 budget discussion this evening, so I wanted to just talk about a couple of things ahead of that. Please keep in mind that all documents that we presented all year long are on our website. So every presentation that we presented, including this evening, is on our website. It's always behind the minutes. So if you go to school committee and click on the minutes, you will see every document that's ever been presented at a school committee meeting for that meeting that's associated with that meeting. So you can always go back and take a look at those. FY24, I just have to continue to share with you, has been extremely complicated. There's been nothing simple about looking at fiscal year 24 going into next year. Nobody wants to be in this position, but everybody's in this position. So it's been very difficult for all of us, and for you as a community, and for our school district moving forward. It's actually been overwhelming, to say the least, for any individual, but also for our system. And when I talk about system, I'm talking about our school district. It became even more overwhelming last Friday, because we did provide notice, what we consider professional courtesy, to a lot of staff members across our district that may be impacted if we do not have a successful level services budget. Now, keep in mind, in the messaging that I sent out to staff, is that this school committee supports a level services budget. The Board of Selectmen and the Finance Committee for the town of Dudley have supported a level services budget. We are, as we were on April 25th, we're in the hands of the voter at this point in time. And I think the commitment for level service budget hasn't stopped in the venues that I just mentioned, but we are at the hands of the Dudley voters. With that said, and especially now that I share with you that last Friday we did share professional courtesy conversations with individuals, and the impact should never be minimized. And every one of those individuals is extremely important to us, along with the entire district for us. I can't compliment our staff enough for their, I'm going to use a word that is used in my house a lot, their awesomeness. Because given where we are, you think it's worse, we talked about tonight, you think it's worse than COVID, but we forget what COVID was really like if we really think that. But FY24, it's certainly, and what we've been going through this year for fiscal purposes, has certainly been daunting, exhausting, and overwhelming, and impactful. But our awesome staff continues to have the focus of their students in front of them, regardless of how they may be feeling personally. So I just want to continue to compliment our educators, our paraprofessionals, cafeteria staff, all departments, because this is overwhelming to think about where we could be if we do not get a level services budget at this point in time. So again, hats off to the Dudley Charlton Regional School District staff, and I have to include in their families, because we know families are very caring and passionate about our school district and want to see a level services budget as well. So thank you to the families of Dudley Charlton Regional School District. This evening, we are not going to recommend, and I will recommend, no formal action on the part of the school committee regarding these reductions. But it's at that time now, we've been presenting this for quite a while, but it's at that time for us to really share what those reductions would look like with a level funded budget for the Dudley Charlton Regional School District. It's very difficult, and it will be a very difficult conversation, but we are recommending that the school committee does not take action on those reductions this evening. And once again, I just want to reinforce, because it's not part of the presentation, other than the dates that are coming up, the Dudley Town Meeting on Monday, May 22nd, and then a ballot question which was approved by the Board of Selectmen and the FAA for June 12th. If we have support for a level services budget, obviously we don't need to move forward with these reductions. So it is in the hands of the voters at this time. We need to work collaboratively with the town of Dudley, which we have been doing for over a year now, to get to this point. But I want to acknowledge again how overwhelming and exhausting this is for not only individuals, but for the entire system called Dudley Charlton Regional School District, and for you as a school committee. So I just wanted to end my report with that presentation. Okay?
Thank you, I appreciate that. Okay, we are going to move on to public comment, and like I had said to the people here beforehand, before we started the meeting, is that we will do part of the public comment now, and then we will continue the public comment after new business. So why don't we start with 15 minutes now, and we can do another 15 after, and we can always extend if needed. So is anyone would like to come up? Come on, you can come right up. So the way we do public comment, because I don't remember you being here before, would be just state your name and state which town you live in.
Yes.
And that would be great.
My name is Eloise Thomas, and I'm from Charlton. I'm a 7th grader at Charlton Middle School and the youngest of 5 children who have gone through the Dudley Charlton district. Never in my life have I seen something like this. First, I would like to talk about jobs getting cut. I know I can speak for every student that has gone through this school. Yes, it's truly disappointing that staff members are getting cut from their job, but I want to talk about a man who has changed so many lives. I was informed on Friday, May 5th, that Mr. Sean McNamara, otherwise known as Mr. Mack, was being cut from his job as a health teacher. This disgusted me. Mr. Mack has had the largest positive impact on every single one of the students at CMS. From my point of view, he went from a teacher to a person I could talk to about anything and everything to. Of all people, why him? Mr. Mack can say without lying, he truly cares about every single one of his students. If you want a staff member that cares and protects his students, puts them before himself in any situation, and many more things, I would advise you to bring him back to the school next year. Mr. Mack has taught every single one of us to be kind. He teaches us about important things such as alcohol, drugs, and especially mental health. He has given me and many other students a reason to live and to be who we want. He has saved lives, and I can say he saved mine. On the topic of mental health, I'm sure this has been brought up, but I'm bringing it up to you. If sports and arts are cut, many things will be going downhill. One of the things that will go downhill are the students' mental health. The sports and arts in this district are a way for us to express ourselves. And as a student athlete, I know this for a fact. Another thing that will go downhill is the amount of students. Do you not understand that kids at CMS are already talking about transferring to different schools next year if they're in sports or arts? You are losing students and probably won't gain a lot either. Who would want to go to a school with no sports, arts, or clubs? Not many. I think it's time for you guys to turn around and reconsider your choices. If you want a great, healthy future for these students, or do you want a future where kids don't want to go to school? It's your choice. Thank you.
Do we have anybody else? Okay, so I'm going to gather that we have conversations to talk about after, and so we'll put that additional time at the end. Okay? So we'll move on to new business. Do we want to move C up, or how do you feel? You want to go with A? We'll go with A. So report of the Director of Finance and Operations and the Budget and Finance Subcommittee, Director Matthew and Chair Coyne.
Okay, you want me to start first? Okay. We met, the Budget and Finance Committee met on Monday at 9:30. We did Zoom the meeting, and we discussed how the school committee remains committed to providing a level service budget to avoid a large budget reduction. It appears that the Dudley Charlton Regional District is on track with the town of Charlton's assessment. The question remains with the town of Dudley, as they voted to bring forward another override to the community to support the Dudley Charlton Regional School District's level service budget and the town's own $1.7 million increase. Dudley Charlton Regional School District has always been focused on a level service budget and has the support of the Board of Selectmen and the Finance Committee. But essentially, it's all in the hands of the voters. Rich, do you have anything else to add?
No, that really sums up the conversation that we had on Monday morning.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions? All right.
The fiscal year end?
Sure. For school committee members, you have the end-of-year report audit. It was completed with no findings submitted to the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. If anybody has any questions, please let me know. In terms of business office staff, Ms. Diane Wilson has been named permanent payroll specialist for the district. Ms. Wilson stepped into an unexpected vacancy with all of the energy, intelligence, and dedication a manager can only dream of having, and has done so extremely well to date. This critical position for the district is in very capable hands. The district 8-hour-per-week accounting position has also been filled. There were 3 applicants, one in error who thought this was an 8-hour-per-day position. Interviews were scheduled, one was missed. The successful candidate is our retired payroll specialist, Marianne Abishano, a perfect fit for the highest priority tasks involved currently. I do not anticipate requesting additional time for this position prior to fiscal '25. Quick update on capital items. We did receive the breakdown between the 2 middle school roofs. You've got school committee and public has the breakdown of the capital information. At this point in time, pending any change orders, which are certainly still possible, the overall project total is coming in almost $2 million under budget, which is great news, as well as for the roofs, we had hoped to be able to afford the Cadillac version of the roofs with the 30-year warranty. We weren't able to quite reach that, but we were able to get the 30-year warranty, and I think that was the most important thing for everybody. So that's a big step forward. I don't know if anybody has any questions on the capital.
Madam Chair, in school committee, I don't have a question, but I want to say that those efforts are a direct result of the director of facilities that we have in the district, who continues to provide the district with substantial cost savings, as well as the right decisions to be made on our facilities moving forward. He works tirelessly day in and day out to grind and get to the best for both communities, and get these figures cleared, narrowed down, but also get the best outcome from our projects. So I just wanted to reiterate that.
Yeah, absolutely. The line item that's there for the architect, if we didn't have the skill set available in our facility director and we had to have an owner's project manager because the cost of these projects exceed the threshold, you could be looking at double that for an architect/OPM. So, the cost savings are very evident, I think.
And again, you said we're how much under budget?
A little less than $2 million.
Great, that's great.
All right, and lastly, I know we will certainly be talking about FY24 budget in the next agenda item, but school committee does need to vote to approve the one-time capital assessments to the 2 communities. You've already provided them with the operating assessments, and all of the sheets are provided in your packets. What I'm looking for is a vote on the bottom that says one-time assessments, Town of Charlton, for the feasibility study, and for the capital vote where they're voluntarily prepaying $1.5 million, and a one-time assessment for the Town of Dudley for the feasibility study. Since school committee has already approved the regular assessments, I would think all you need to do is vote on the one-time assessments in this, and it will be an add-on to the existing assessments.
Okay, I'd entertain a motion for, to vote on a one-time assessment to the Town of Charlton in the amount of $2,037,000, and to the amount of Town of Dudley in the amount of $463,000. So moved. Do I have a second? Okay. Discussion?
Oh, sorry. Interesting.
That's okay.
Motion was Kelly Zeller, second was Caitlin Panther?
Yep.
Yeah. I'm with you, sorry.
No, that's fine. Do we want to, any discussion on that? Nope. Do you want to, anything else that you want to say?
No, again, this has been well discussed and, you know, brought forward in different variations along the way, but never formally acted upon. Prior to town meeting, it makes sense that school committee make an official vote, so.
Okay.
This is just dotting the I and crossing the T.
Perfect. Does anyone have any further discussion? No. Okay. All those in favor? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Unanimous. Is that it for you?
That's all I have.
Okay. Wonderful. So B is the continued discussion for fiscal year 2024 to include level-funded reductions. Superintendent LaMarche.
So, Madam Chair and School Committee, as I presented earlier, this is not, this should not be a well-received presentation. Again, we are recommending that there are no actions on the school committee part, but I wanted the opportunity to go through this in each slide, and obviously, if I'm sure there'll be questions, so we look forward to those questions, and we'll do the best we can to answer them. We do have our school principals here available. If there are building-specific questions, they are ready, because a lot of the recommendations came directly from them. Even though we work as a team, they can definitely speak more closely to their building. And again, this is an administrative exercise, but again, the details for their building will be available through them. So this evening, we presented what we're calling a level-funded budget plan, because again, we're not recommending any action at this time. Keep in mind, you as a district did vote on a version 1 budget, as we talked about, a level-funded, a level budget increase by $3.6 million. So those are the assessments, roughly, those are the assessments for the two communities. For Charlton, 1.8, for the town of Dudley, 9, it's 983, so it's
994 and
994,
some change.
183 or something like that, which is on this slide, right? Which is not on this slide right here. So, bottom line, this was version 2, and this is why we're here. So again, you voted, the first slide was a level services budget. This is a level funded budget for us as a school district. And again, keep in mind, when we started presenting this early in January, we were at $2.7 million in reduction. That was based off of unknowns. And then the governor's budget came out, and then the House 1 budget came out, which we tried to exercise everything we possibly could to bring down the required reduction to $1.9 million from the original $2.7 million. If we recall, we presented to you as a committee that we could administratively work on with our building principals to around $2 million in reductions, but we still needed another $500,000 to $600,000 in reductions to try to meet what that required reduction would be based off of the unknown numbers and governor's numbers. So I want to caution you, this is still on the H1, House 1 budget. The Senate Ways and Means came out with some new numbers yesterday. There is some slight adjustments for us. That's just the Ways and Means. The Senate itself has not come out with their budget, so we have to actually look at what the impact on that is, but we are confident to go forward with what we have at this point in time as best we can with the House 1 budget numbers that came forward. So, and all told, and you know, I do want to preface all of this by saying, yes, there is a particular focus on the town of Dudley, because the town of Charlton has already committed to a level services budget for us as a district. So you will see slides like this one that's very specific to Dudley. So for a level services budget, a level service budget for FY24, with the balance brought forward, as you saw, a negative number of $34,158 from the previous year, the request for an operational override supported by the Board of Selectmen and the Finance Committee in Dudley is for a value of $994,283. As I shared in the email with the staff, it doesn't duplicate the number of $1.9 million that we have to come up with in reductions, because for every dollar that goes up or goes down in the town of Dudley, it does the same in the town of Charlton. Charlton can't give more money. They can't take away money. It's a balanced two-town system. So yes, we put forward a request for an override for the town of Dudley to get to FY24 and not actuate reductions of $994,283. I just want to make sure that that's perfectly clear. So as I said, it's a two-town system. We're one school district. A failed Dudley override does lower Charlton's assessment by over $1 million. Charlton's willing to support a level services budget of $1.9 million. If the override fails in the town of Dudley, their assessment goes down by over $1 million to our district. So again, a level funded budget requires a reduction of at least $1.9 million. I just want to review so that we're fully aware of what a level services budget is. A level services budget maintains existing student experiences, student supports, and instructional resources while absorbing increased fixed costs. So for FY24, we have shared over and over and over again that we have increased fixed costs at the value of $3.6 million coming into this fiscal year. That hasn't changed. House 1 doesn't take care of those for us. Senate doesn't take care of those. The governor, the state, those are ours. We own those. That has not changed. We have $3.6 million in fixed cost increases going to the next fiscal year. Those are what I call providing specialized services, which have substantially increased, dramatically increased. Transportation costs, specialized instruction, employee benefits, on top of substantial increases in utilities for our district. Fixed costs. So a level funded budget provides a nominal or minimal budget increase, because we can't say it's no increase, but it's nominal, it's minimal, but it does not address increased fixed costs. Again, if FY24, it's $3.6 million. So as a result, substantial reductions are required as fixed costs must be absorbed in the operating budget because we have to provide a balanced budget. We have to create a balanced budget. So with a level funded budget, we have to absorb $3.6 million in our budget, which we've been sharing this for quite some time. So hopefully this presentation is regarding a level funded budget. It's not a level service budget, again, it keeps pretty much everything we have moving forward. So this presentation this evening, which is very difficult, is a level funded budget. And as we've shared at multiple meetings, it will fundamentally change the student experience. It will change opportunities and access for our students. It will establish a clear movement by us as a district to what is to compliance and what is regulatory required as a district. This is my 4th year in knowing the communities of Dudley and Charlton. It isn't about being regulatory required here. It's so much more than that. But with $2 million in reductions, that's where we have to move. It will impact accessibility implementation of multi-tiered system of support, which you'll see. It will fatigue. I used the word exhaust before. I've changed it to the word fatigue. I'm just trying to impact the conversation around E&D, access and deficiency, to fund FY25 operating budget. And what that means over and over again means that if there is a failed override this year and we are dismantling our district, next year the request is going to be even compounded and that much more than this year. Or there's further dismantling of DCRSD. It's just where we're at. Most of this, except for the detail of the individuals that will impact, that we believe it will impact, that we had those professional courtesy meetings, this has been presented at school committee meetings, February 1st, February 8th, March 1st, March 8th, March 22nd, April 12th, and April 26th. This is not new information. As well, we presented this at DCRT school committee subcommittee meetings, boards of selectmen meeting, finance appropriations and advisory committee meetings, finance committee meetings for Dudley and Charlton, community forums. Again, this is not, with the exception of individual reductions, this is not new information. Reducing our budget has been out there forever. For me, we've been living this since February 1st. There hasn't been much sleep. For the district office, we know now there is no sleep for the DCRSD staff members as well. Through that whole process, though, we have received feedback from not only from you as a school committee, but from the community as well. So that's been implemented in how we're trying to approach a level-funded budget plan this evening. Those recommendations, suggestions didn't fall on deaf ears. We've been asking for suggestions since the day it started. We're trying to do the best we can to keep in mind, Dudley Charlton Regional School District does not have fluff. does not have excess. The only excess in Dudley Charlton is staff going above and beyond. That's the only excess. It's not operational. So we're trying to do the best we can to come up with a level-funded budget plan that reduces a skinny budget by $2 million. So a level-funded budget plan, what is it? Again, the target is $1.9 million. Remember, we had to add an EL teacher for the purposes of being in compliance. So really, the reduction plan is around a little over $2 million. No doubt, what I am presenting this evening is imperfect. There is no perfect plan to reduce $2 million out of Dudley Charlton Regional School District. It will continue to be a night in weeks of unrest, conflict, and misunderstandings until we get a level services budget, if we get a level services budget. It will continue to be full of unrest, conflict, and misunderstandings. Our approach has been rich in deliberation. Again, we've been presenting this since February, at least February 1st. We've been working on this long before that. The administrative team has had lots of deliberations on this. It's imperfect. Every time we meet, it's imperfect. We're doing the best we can. Our goal was an exercise in balance. As you heard at the last meeting, our goal was not to, every effort was made not to eliminate everything as a whole, even though some things will still come across as being eliminated as a whole, but to try to balance the reductions and actually apply reductions versus elimination. We know, no matter what we say tonight, it's all unacceptable. We all disagree with it. There isn't one person who's going to say, yep, that's okay with me. It's all going to be unacceptable. But again, it's a requirement the communities have of us. It's a requirement the communities have of you as a school committee, is that if we have a level funded budget, what will we do? Keep in mind that one of the more difficult things to do in any reductions is calculation of benefits. So that's not in here at this time. It's not fully calculated because we really ultimately do need to know individuals. It's extremely complicated, but the low estimate, this is unemployment, insurance, et cetera, the low estimate could be an increase of $400,000 on top of the already $1.9 million reduction for us as a district. The high watermark for that could be $600,000. I'm not trying to add a level of scare to this, but it's a reality for us to try to figure out and calculate, which we typically do in DCRSD through our limited means. Maybe it's tapping into excess and deficiency a little bit more, and then therefore even more, compounding more FY25 going forward. Because getting to 1.9 to $2 million, as you'll see tonight, was an extremely difficult exercise. Adding another $400,000 in reductions, it's virtually impossible. And you'll see what your options are for interchanges or adding. But I just want you as a committee and the community to know that we still have to calculate out benefits if we do have to enact a level funded budget. That is on the table. So level funded budget, the next slides will represent all schools and all departments. All unacceptable. All unacceptable. Keep in mind, we're going with the House 1 numbers. The Senate Ways and Means came out yesterday. The Senate did not come out yet. There could be some adjustments there. But preliminarily, what we're seeing, we think we can still live with the House 1 number with the addition of the EL teacher. Plus, we do have to consider $400,000 to $600,000 if we have to enact reductions, which again, this is all informational. We're respectfully asking the school committee not to take any action on any of these this evening. So looking at Mason Road Elementary School. We're looking at one general education teacher, which would be unfilled. So you'll see that there is an exact number for an unfilled position or a position we know that we would recommend for a RIF, that there is no replacement or movement for that particular position, so we can come up with an exact value for that. From there, you'll see a general value, because we have to consider the average of the employment salary along with benefits and others, because there could be potential movement in there. This is not an easy, this is worse than putting March Madness up on the wall and trying to figure out who's going to be the person in the value. This is very difficult to do. So that's why with positions that have bumping in them or movement in them, or riff in them, there are general numbers, but exact numbers were used as much as we possibly could. So for Mason Road, we have a value of 273, 259. Again, it's a general education teacher, which we're moving to unfill. This is, again, if we have to actuate a level funded budget. 0.5 reading specialist, because these positions are going to be split between buildings. So it's 0.5 represents Mason Road. A 0.5 custodian at Mason Road, that's an actual position. Library paraprofessional, which is shared between Mason Road and Dudley Elementary School, so it's 0.5 for Mason Road, and it will be the other 0.5 you'll see for Dudley L. The next two in our reductions we're recommending, as we have to try to have a balanced approach to this, of moving to 2 sections of half-day. So for kindergarten and for both Mason Road and Charlton Elementary School. So the way you have to look at that is you have to take 4 sections to reduce it to have 1 section of a morning half-day and a PM half-day.
So you're moving to half-day kindergarten?
Yes. Just 1 section of morning kindergarten and PM kindergarten. So between Charlton Elementary School and Mason Road, you need 4 sections to make 2 AMs and PMs on each side. I don't like the word side, in each school.
Okay.
The rest will still run full-day kindergarten sections. So at Mason Road, there are 4 total full-day kindergarten. 4. Yeah. So we would cut 2. Well, we would cut 1, and then 1 teacher would move to an AM and a PM kindergarten.
Okay. So does just to make sure, because people might be confused, does that mean some kids will come in and only take a half-day kindergarten?
Yeah. We would have to set up a lottery for full-day kindergarten.
Oh. Okay.
Every one of these is complex. But again, it's balanced between Charlton Elementary School and Mason Road. So you need 4 sections total between the 2 schools to create 1 AM and PM section. So you're taking 2 full days and moving them to half-day. So therefore, to meet the reduction, you reduce 1 kindergarten paraprofessional and 1 kindergarten teacher. I'm sorry?
I wouldn't even put that in our cuts, because that's just not fair to the students. Some are only going to get a half-day, and some are going to get a full day.
Yep, keep in mind, this is the first school that we're talking about.
I would look at a different cut.
Keep in mind, this is the first school we're talking about. This represents $273,000 out of $2 million. This is only 10% of the total reduction for DCRSD. And there's certainly time to say, I don't support that, I support this instead.
Why don't we let you go through the whole presentation and then we'll go through.
Yeah, this one I just had to explain a little bit
Yeah,
more because
no,
it wasn't clear.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Then a 0.5 school adjustment counselor, again, sharing a position with Dudley Elementary School, and a 0.1 school psychologist, moving a school psychologist to an actual 0.8. So you'll see 0.1 represented here, and you'll see it represented elsewhere to make 0.2, which this is all added up in a final slide. Charlton Elementary School, again, a 0.5 reading specialist, shared, a 0.5 custodian, which is a whole position for Charlton Elementary School, a 0.5 library paraprofessional, which is shared with Heritage. Again, the kindergarten staff member, paraprofessional, and teacher, to move to 1 full teacher and paraprofessional for an AM and a PM kindergarten, a 0.5 school adjustment counselor, and there's the 0.1 school psychologist. For Heritage Elementary School, a 0.5 reading specialist, a full-time custodian, which will be unfilled. We can unfill that as we have a retirement October 1st. A 0.5 library paraprofessional, which is shared with Charlton Elementary School. A 0.3 secretary, which Heritage has a 1.0 and a 0.3. and then a .5 school adjustment counselor, again, shared amongst the elementary schools. Dudley Elementary School, very similar to Heritage, reading specialist at .5, .5 custodian, a .5 library paraprofessional, .2 physical education teacher, and a .5 school adjustment counselor. For Dudley Middle School, an unfilled general education position, that would be an 8th grade position, a 1.0 FT foreign language teacher, a 1.0 FT art teacher, a 1.0 FT health teacher, middle school athletics, this is all Dudley Middle School athletics, and team leader stipends. For Charlton Middle School, a foreign language teacher, technology teacher, health teacher, a custodian, all Charlton Middle School athletics, and team leader stipends as well. For Shepherd Hill Regional High School, full-time school adjustment counselor, unfilled, a full-time physics teacher, a special education teacher, a technology teacher, librarian, foreign language, art, school nurse, department coordinators. This is a partial reduction for department coordinators, a restructuring. All JV and freshman athletics. Music stipends, you have to think of music stipends being multiple levels, and the way I would ask you to respectfully look at this is from a JV or freshman athletics perspective. So those that would be considered music arts, music stipends for music arts at what we consider, let's call it the varsity level, would still remain within our district. And then other clubs and student activities. District office, .8 administrative assistants. This is a number of people. This isn't just one. A professional development line. Change the assistant superintendent's position to a director's position. A district office expenses and district office technology supplies. So to reach the again, it was over $2 million with the EL teacher, so this is $2.1 million in value from what we can calculate at this time. That's 18.2 teachers, 3.2 school adjustment counselors and school psychologists, 3.5 custodians, 1 librarian, 1 school nurse, 4 paraprofessionals, 1.1 administrative assistants, athletics, middle school, freshmen and JV, music, clubs and student activities, teacher leadership stipends, and district office position shift and other expenses to reach the $2.1 million. So, again, every one of them is unacceptable. And everyone will have an argument for one versus another. But we're at that point where if you identify something that you don't support, you have to identify something else. We're giving you the best we can as a team that we worked on for months right now. So you can say cut X, or you want to restore X, but what else are you going to cut? Has to be part of the dialogue. So other areas of reduction, again, respectfully, this is an imperfect balance approach that was applied. Therefore, any one department subject or budget area could be presented for full reduction to save another department. So examples could be, I don't support half-day K, so let's cut all athletics. I don't support athletics, so let's cut all reading teachers. Again, we tried to go down and slice this as best we could to try to have a balanced approach. So as a committee, if you're looking for other areas, you may have something that you haven't shared for 4 months now, but I don't think so. But if not, we've tried to give you everything we possibly can, and we've tried to do slices of things instead of all in totality. We need a decision, a recommendation, or a direction to say we don't want to cut half-day K, so please go back and find another area that you can cut at that value. Again, any items can be suggested for reduction, but an item of the same value must be suggested to balance a level budget plan. And just to remind you, the next things that are occurring around our budget, the Town of Charlton annual town meeting is next Monday. Again, to everyone's knowledge, we have support for a level services budget as well as a feasibility study. Then we have the Town of Dudley annual town meeting, which is Monday, May 22nd. Which the voters will be asked to vote on a contingent budget, which would be a level services budget. And then there's a Town of Dudley override ballot on Monday, June 12th, 2023. So that, again, it's not an easy presentation, but I'll open it up for questions.
Okay, can I ask, because I'm sure we're gonna have questions on how each thing, each item might affect the building. And I didn't know if we could, let's start with the elementary schools, okay? If we could have all the elementary school principals come up and sit with us so that we don't have to keep asking you questions, that'd be great. So we only
Well,
have to.
again, Madam Chair, this is going to impact everybody. This is,
Oh,
$2 million
agreed,
is
agreed,
gonna
but
change everything.
absolutely. But I
So-
think if we go through specifically, if people have specific questions for elementary, it'd be good to have you at the table,
Okay,
okay?
yeah.
So if we go back to the elementary numbers, because you did put it by school.
Yep.
So if we could go back to Mason Road.
We're gonna go school by school?
Well, let's see.
Because again, these
what-
are shared positions as
I
well.
totally understand, totally understand. Does the committee have any questions or comments for any of our elementary school people, principals? And thank you for coming up. And I'm sorry that you had to go through this exercise.
So I have something.
Yes, go ahead.
Just for clarity, going back to the kindergarten and the half-day. So currently, this year, we have 4 kindergarten at Mason Road. Normally, we've had 5.
Oh, yep, and there's more at Charlton.
Yes. So we've reduced it based on enrollment for this year's kindergarten. However, we know that enrollment is already higher than normal for this time of the year. So we could potentially have the need for even 5 kindergartens, but we would still, one of those classrooms would be half-day.
Or we could increase class size, which has not been touched in here.
Okay. But if there were 4 kindergartens at Mason Road alone, one would be half-day,
That would make,
2 sections, and there would be 3 full days, or
it
2?
would be 2 full days and 1 AM and PM to match the 4 sections
And it
that
would
are
go by
currently
a
there.
lottery.
The lottery would be for the full day.
And how would we determine how many seats?
By the number of students.
I'm assuming that anyone with an IEP that might qualify for those seats, though.
If they require a full day, yes.
Okay.
Not all IEPs require a full day.
No, I know, but I'm just thinking, I know we opened up a pre-K with some intense needs, so I'm assuming that those children might need those full-day spots. I'm just trying to understand.
Yep.
And then the same for Charlton Elementary. How many or how many kindergartens do we currently have?
We currently have 6 sections.
So we would cut down, or we would keep 6 and 1 would be half-day?
You cut to 5.
Okay, and
You
4.
cut to 4, and 5 and 6 would be the AM and the PM.
Okay. So my take on it is, I prefer all or nothing. I wouldn't want to split. Some of the kindergartners get half-day and some get full-day. If we were gonna go to half-day, all kindergarten go to half-day. If we were gonna stick with full-day, that's just my opinion. But I just wanted to make sure I was understanding it
Yep, and
correctly.
just so that we're all aware, that's $170,000 you have to identify somewhere else, or you're asking us to identify somewhere else to reduce, to get to $2 million for a level-funded budget.
Okay.
Okay?
And just on top of that, you said, so this is at the 20, we had 22, 23 class size? This
Yeah,
is
we're still maintaining the school committee goal of 22 to 23 as a class size average across the district. There's always going to be an anomaly and a bump.
Sure, but as long as it's not bumping up
Yep,
to
and then move-ins and all that.
28, 30 kids per class is.
Yeah, we try to do the best we can to maintain your goal of class size. But again, that's another area you can say, let's bump up class size, which means we reduce additional staff.
Can I just ask that if this comes to fruition and we do have to do something like this, that we think about, I understand that you have to balance that, and maybe it's that half the kids go full-time for a half a year, half-time for half a year, and then they flip-flop it for the second half a year. So that we're at least balancing out the experience for students, because I can't imagine the level of learning for the students that are half-day all year versus a full day all year.
Madam Chair, we wouldn't disagree, we would just need an administrative assistant to help us with all of that management of that. Because remember, our elementary principals are alone. And their management of their buildings is already complicated. But message received, if we have to enact that, yes.
Just throwing ideas out.
Yep.
From a parent perspective, that would be tough,
It would
I think.
absolutely be tough.
Because if my kid was in the first block that went a full day, and then all of a sudden you're going a half day, and then first grade you're going a full, it would be confusing.
It would be confusing. I'm just looking at like the equity.
I'm thinking
students
for the
and-
kid, it would be confusing
Yeah.
at that age. I mean, I get what you're trying to achieve, but, and for possible daycare purposes, that would get complicated for the parents for mid-year. I don't know.
Agreed. Yeah. I don't think there's any perfect answer to any of these.
No, I know.
Just to throw another little wrench in the works there, coming from a district that has had half-day and full-day in the same district, the implications for first grade for teachers is a nightmare. When you have kids that have had half-day K and kids that have full-day K coming together into the same first grade class, it makes it really, really, that burden falls on the teacher. In first grade, that makes it even harder.
But,
No,
Madam
I'm
Chair,
just
go
going
ahead, sorry.
I'm going to throw out this, to save money for something else. Now, the assistant superintendent, we're only saving $20,000 by changing the name to director. Suppose we cut the assistant superintendent's position altogether, what would the savings be? What is the
Well,
bottom line?
It would be,
It would be $110,000 on.
It would be how much?
130 total.
Okay.
but keep in mind that, at our last meeting, we talked about how much financial benefits we've gotten from positions that.
Right, we
like
did.
that, from our grants that we've received. And if we don't have team leaders, if we don't have department chair stipends, who's doing the curriculum work?
And again, elementary schools only have a principal. So there is
Well,
a reliance
I
on that
just threw
position
that
to
out
support
for
them.
discussion.
Yeah, absolutely,
Because-
absolutely.
Again, they're all imperfect, I apologize, but they are.
Does anyone have any more questions for yep, go ahead, Olivia.
So me personally, I actually went to half-day kindergarten when I was a wee lad. I think my whole kindergarten experience was half-day, and I agree that all or nothing, because I know you guys said the disparity between kids having full-day kindergarten and half-day kindergarten. If you're gonna do half-day, make the whole thing half-day kind of thing. I mean, I think I turned out fine with half-day kindergarten.
Look where you are now.
I will say that, just to give you perspective on that, the standards for what's taught in a kindergarten class has changed dramatically since you went to kindergarten and since I went to kindergarten. So what you learned in kindergarten, what you learned in first grade, they're learning in kindergarten. Yes,
It is.
so, am I right?
I mean, look at what our little
Yeah.
first graders came to tonight in red. I mean, they wrote that themselves. I mean, that's work, and that starts at the kindergarten. It starts at preschool if they come to our preschool, but then our kindergarten teachers, I mean, that's where it starts. It's like Mr. LaMarcia said, it's a devastating thought. But there's nowhere else to go. There's nowhere else to cut. Like, we're bled dry if this is what we have to do.
You also have to consider there are very few communities in Massachusetts that have half-day kindergarten still. So, when you're comparative to other districts in Massachusetts, to go to half-day kindergarten after having a full-day program would be very unusual.
But at the same token, if I had a child in kindergarten and it was done by lottery, and now my child's going to suffer and have the half day. I wouldn't like that. So I go along with Caitlin. It's either all or nothing, because it's just not fair.
And speaking to those standards, it's true. If it's a couple of classes that have half day and half other ones have full day, then how are you supposed to expect that their students in the half day are going to be up to par with the full day students? It's all unacceptable.
It is.
Agreed. Yeah. Okay. Do we have any other questions for our elementary folks?
I have one more.
Go ahead.
Only because this was brought to me, it was asked if there was any possibility of ever combining our elementary schools, and I've discussed this with others, and I think that the buildings aren't capable to hold. But I wonder if, I know we only have a principal at each elementary, but if we shifted to having a principal and an assistant shared two elementary schools, both of them. So there would always be one overseeing both schools and an assistant, and maybe that would yield some savings because it wouldn't be a principal, it would be an assistant principal. I don't know.
I appreciate the suggestion, but I wouldn't support that. Because the building principal, ed reform was in 1993, and the building principals are responsible for every front door to the back door. So you'd have one principal who'd have to be responsible for the front door to the back door of two buildings with support, with an assistant to help them, but there's a lot on a principal's desk.
And we also, I had asked a couple of people that same question, and one of the things that was brought to my attention is that we have specialized programs in our Charlton schools that do need that attention. And not that Dudley doesn't, but that would really, it would be disastrous not to have a principal in the building.
I just think people look at 300 students, whereas there's a principal responsible at the middle school for almost double, and then the high school, you know what I mean? So I think that they're looking at it from a very mathematical look, so.
In reality, we should actually have a shared assistant principal between two buildings with two principals.
Right.
Minimally. You have, Heritage is a very large elementary school with one principal in it. Dudley Elementary. And again, I want to preface all of that by saying the complexities of students today are far different than they were pre-COVID. Far different than they were pre-COVID.
Any other questions for our principals? Do you have anything you want to say? Not that I'm not putting you on the spot. I know that there's some questions, and we'll take those during public comment. Okay? Do we have any more? No? Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Middle school?
Yeah, I think, why don't we bring the middle school and the high school up at the same time? That way we don't sit more Principal Elwell by himself.
You can handle it. His birthday.
Well, it is his birthday. I can't imagine. Anything else you want to do on your birthday?
This is it.
This is it. We didn't even bring cake, I'm sorry.
Are you gonna sing to your plants?
Should we sing?
All right, no, please don't. Poor man. Okay, thank you all for coming. I appreciate you being here. Do we have any questions for our middle schools? I guess I'll start with the first question. I see that, it's a 1.0 FTE foreign language. So can you talk a little bit about the impact of that on the students in general?
Sure. Currently at Dudley Middle School, we have 1.0 FTE in foreign language. As you know, it's been a school committee and strategic plan goal for several years to have additional foreign language at the middle schools. We currently service approximately 50% of the 8th grade with a foreign language class, and about 45% of the 7th grade with exposure to foreign language. The reduction of that position will result in no students having formal foreign language experience in the next 2 years when they're entering 9th grade. So some students will have it in prep for 9th for the next couple of years as it's eliminated.
we'd echo the exact same thing at Charlton Middle School. About 150 students would be affected of not being able to participate in the foreign language program. I've been around long enough to know when we had multiple foreign language teachers there. So now just having one is a unique experience for our kids that is definitely needed. And it's sad to see at this point in time that we're at a point where we will not be able to offer that any longer for our students.
Madam Chair, I just want to remind the committee that foreign language at the middle school has been on the, even with our plan, a 3 system, and I know we were asked for a 3 system. Last year we gave 3 systems for a budget, but every one of those systems just keeps reducing. It's not like we're adding anything. So foreign language has been on the list for a couple of years now at the middle school.
Absolutely. I just want people to, when we say 1.0 foreign language, I want people to understand that that's it. That's all we ever had.
Yep.
So it eliminates the whole.
That's correct.
And I just want to make sure people see the impact. And can you talk a little bit about the art and health as well?
I can start
Thank
in
you.
talking about the art. In looking at the overarching student structure at Dudley Middle and Charlton Middle, we're within about a 60 student enrollment difference for next year. Charlton currently has 2.0 FTE in art. I have 1.0 FTE in art at Dudley Middle School. So the reduction of the 1.0 art in Dudley will require a shift in the reassignment of that 1 FTE at Charlton, which will result in art education continuing in both buildings, albeit it will be more limited on the CMS side, just given the number of seats available with 1 FTE. And the health educator position, we currently have 2 physical education teachers and 2 health teachers at Dudley Middle School. The reduction of 1.0 FTE in health will still allow students to maintain connection with all of the wellness standards, health and wellness standards. We may need to do some curriculum planning, curriculum work along the lines of utilizing our counselors, school adjustment counselor, in coordination with the 5th grade, 6th grade physical educator, as an example, to be able to deliver some of the social emotional conversations that we typically have with 5th and 6th graders as they're navigating the entry into young adolescence. But the 1.0 FTE health that remains would be a targeted focus for 7th and 8th grade, which would really enable a good transition and segue to high school wellness for our adolescents who are moving on up.
The good thing about that is I'm going to echo basically what Principal Starchewski said here in our building. From our health position here, it will be a 7th and 8th grade focus to continue with the continuum of learning for the health and wellness for kids going into high school. Again, as Superintendent LaMarche said earlier, we just have slices that we had to look at in order to meet this actual number. And again, none of these reductions are things that we are happy about. We don't want to see kids lose experiences. But at the end of the day, still something is better than nothing when we start thinking about where we could be as a result of this. So.
Did anyone else have some questions?
I have a few questions, I guess. Kind of looking at this, besides the fact that we're discussing being in a mental health crisis and letting go a health teacher, as well as middle school athletics, but I don't see anything listed here for the music departments on this, because I thought we were going to try to do a little bit from both sides. And another thought was, I just don't know if this is even a thing, but does anybody ever not have phys ed? Like, we have a lot of athletes, do they not have phys ed?
Every student's required for phys ed at the middle school level. They all do have it.
It's required every year.
Yep.
All years,
Yes.
even if they're,
Yep.
okay.
Anyone else have questions? Maybe you could just share, like, we've been in this, I think we understand the gravity of it, but just maybe share, like, middle school athletics. How many students do you have involved in middle school athletics off the top of your head?
At Charlton Middle School, we share the same number of sports opportunities for kids, so I would probably say we have close to, with everybody included, about 120 opportunities for kids to participate in a scholastic sports world, and it's a lot. And the kids depend upon it. And as it was stated earlier by Eloise eloquently, these kids create who they are, their identity through the sports, not just the core curriculum areas. So it's, when you start looking at taking those clubs and those sports away, it becomes a very big part of adolescent development that will no longer be there for kids.
Right.
Have we considered charging for, will that make up for any difference if we have a cost associated with it? I know we do at the high school level, but.
To the chair, that's been brought up before, but that's a minimal offset to the total cost.
Between that and music, so if there's chorus, band, show,
Chorus,
show
band,
choir, all these things.
General music, yeah, general
and
music,
none of
chorus,
them
and
have,
band.
all
No,
of them?
The committee would have to consider charging fees.
Okay.
It was recommended earlier this year not to change the fee systems in Dudley Charlton Regional School District.
And, I don't want to leave out our team leader stipends. Can you give the public a general idea of like the importance of your team leaders and what work they do?
Yeah, this is not a complete reduction of the team leader stipends, but it's an efficiencies conversation, which, of course, anytime you have an efficiencies conversation, you stretch the fabric of what you can offer. With middle school, as you know, I've thumped the drum since I've been here of the importance of middle school's team identity. We'll still maintain identity, but the work to maintain the team norms, team rituals, routines will be stretched a bit. We'd be looking at moving to one team leader per grade level, as opposed to multiple team leaders at the 7th and 8th grade level, which is our current structure at Dudley Middle School. And that's kind of why the cost variance exists between DMS and CMS. CMS's enrollment has additional teams or larger teams than Dudley Middle, but we'd be coming to a little bit more parity with team leader stipends in place.
Yes.
I'm sorry, can I just circle back to athletics? I'm not sure how we are expecting to have varsity athletes if we're eliminating all middle school athletes, freshman athletes, and JV athletes. This is all mind-boggling. There's not going to be a JV team because there's no athletes to foster a varsity team in any sport. Just a point, sorry.
From a principal's perspective, and through the chair, I agree with you 100%. At the end of the day, there's a certain number we have to reach, and it makes it very difficult for us. We start looking where we can actually slice more from, when there really isn't a lot of room to slice anything anywhere. We're beyond that at this point.
Agreed.
Okay. Does anyone else have questions on the middle school end? Okay. Principal Elwell, let's go to Shepherd Hill.
I have a question.
For Shepherd Hill?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I noticed that you're having one reduction in physics. Now, how many physics teachers do you have right now?
So that's kind of a trick question, because of course we have people who are certified to teach physics, but then we have teachers who might be able to teach one class 20% outside of their certification area. So a general answer to your question would be we would have fewer physics offerings, but we would still obviously be able to offer all levels of physics. So the science department overall, where we have teachers who are certified in biology, chemistry, physics, and so on, we would be reducing that department by one teacher, and so we would have 11 teachers remain in the department.
Okay, thank you.
What other questions do we have?
I just have a question, I guess. Just looking at this again, not one versus the other, but it's the amounts for the music cuts versus the athletic cuts it's twice as much.
So
I'm wondering why
there are many, many, many more stipended positions in athletics because there are more teams, whereas in the music department, you have 2 show choirs, you have a jazz band, you have a marching band, as opposed to in the athletics world, you have 3 seasons with multiple teams in every season. So it represents a similar reduction, but obviously the dollar amount is going to be different. It's proportional. So instead of offering all of the ensembles that we typically would, there would be fewer. So instead of one show choir or two, there would be one, things of that nature. But it is a proportional reduction.
And I guess I was looking back just to compare some numbers, and I found some other questions that I have. But with your school, the department coordinators, I feel like overall on one of these, we had a total of $250,000, and now we're looking at only $25,000, and I don't see that.
Madam Chair, that's just a slice of the department coordinators, reorganization of them. That's not the entire thing. But if the school committee would like us to reduce all of them, put us in that direction.
Do you want to talk a little bit about what does that $25,000 represent per cut?
So there's the total number, which there has been some variability, and as I've worked with Rich, we've worked through those different big numbers that I think you're referencing, because at face value, we have the stipends of the department coordinators in the positions, but then we've also added in the value of the reduced teaching load that 5 of those coordinators have. So in theory, 5 reduced teaching blocks equates to a full-time position at the high school. So I think that's where some of that added value came in. However, what we need to be mindful of is that the $25,000 reduction would represent, for example, going from 10 departments, where now we have very specialized visual and performing arts, business and technology, math, English, typical in most high schools. We would consolidate and most likely have a humanities coordinator, STEM coordinator, special ed. So we'd have fewer of those roles overseeing more people, but there would still be a level of teacher leadership.
Thank you. And can you talk about the impact of art, foreign language, librarian, all that?
It's all devastating. In 10 years of developing budgets at the district and building level, this is the worst I've ever seen. And it's an unenviable position for all of us to be in, but it's even worse for those who are impacted. And I just want to echo Mr. LaMarche that on Friday we had some very difficult conversations, and I appreciated the extent to which, speaking of course for Shepherd Hill, my staff conducted themselves with grace and dignity in a very uncomfortable situation, and I really appreciated that, and that's a testament to their professionalism. With regard to the impact of obviously losing the library media specialist position, we would become a district without a certified library media specialist. This is a space that has resources for staff, for students. It's an important part of supporting the curriculum and, quite frankly, the social fabric of the school as well. And so the reduction of that position would mean that we'd need to find a way to ensure that the resources in this space could still be accessed and utilized. With regard to the world language department, we would go from 6 teachers to 5, which the impact to students would be, we'll end up with higher numbers, larger class sizes. Unfortunately, this is also pretty tragic. We're essentially at the end of the road for French, most likely finishing the last cohort of a class this year. We would solely be Spanish, and so 6 to 5 would mean larger class sizes in the world language department. In the visual arts, we would go from 2 FTE teachers to 1.0 FTE teacher. So we would still be offering art courses, but obviously we will be offering fewer art courses and not have as many options for students to take.
Your technology?
Technology position would be obviously detrimental to our engineering pathway. We have Project Lead the Way coursework here that in recent years the district has been aggressive in securing grant funding to not only cover the cost of professional development for instructional staff, but also the equipment that is used in that program. We do have an obligation to continue to uphold our agreement with regard to the innovation pathways and Project Lead the Way coursework. So that would mean that a couple of the classes from that position would need to be transferred over to another teacher who would likely teach 20% outside their content area and pick up some of that Project Lead the Way coursework. And with regard to the clubs and student activities, there are some stipends that we absolutely have to provide. Class advisors are responsible for thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars worth of fundraising to make sure that prom occurs, to make sure that graduation and senior-related events are funded and successful. And so it At a bare minimum, we would see class advisors, we would see certain positions that have financial responsibilities that we would have to fund, but the remaining activities that you'd see listed in the appendix of the contract for all of the different extracurricular activities, we would need to reduce, and if we have a dollar amount where we're able to fund 15,000 of those, it would possibly be names out of a hat. Which stipended positions are we going to be able to fund beyond those that we know that we need for fundraising purposes and for supervisory purposes?
Do we have any questions? Okay. Does anyone have questions about the district office positions?
I have a question, I guess, again, just looking back where we were originally looking at 3.4 full-time employees, and now we're only at a 0.8. So just for clarification on what changed, I mean, obviously, I
Are you looking
understand.
at the budget where we had to cut 3 million?
2.7 million, yes.
2.7 million?
Yep.
Possibly, yes. I was
Okay.
just kind of
Yep.
reviewing,
No,
because I
that's okay,
thought the
'cause I
number
did
was
the
going to
same
be
thing.
higher when and I saw only 0.8, which
Yeah.
obviously we can't afford to do any cuts in there. We need more people.
Right.
But, you know, looking at all places and cutting from everywhere, I just didn't know how we got to that, such a significant drop to 0.8%.
Significant drop in personnel, but the value is it should be relatively close to the same as well for district office. I'm not sure, I don't have the $2.7 million reduction in front of me.
$330,000.
$330,000. So it's a little bit half of that. Keep in mind that earlier in this presentation, I shared that we still may be on the hook for $400,000 more. So it's not that some of these things that may be brought up to add or change may come into play at some point in time. Again, we're trying to give you the best scenario for a level funded budget to get to 2.205 reduction with the addition of the EL teacher. So while we're saying yes, because we're looking at these in totality, we're looking at our reductions in totality, how to be balanced on it. You could say the assistant superintendent, and that's fine. That could add $100,000, $110,000 more to this. But if we do have the memo from Mr. Matthew about unemployment and all of that as well, for you to look at as a school committee. It's in the public packet as well,
Yep.
and what that looks like. So again, that's where the value can fluctuate between $400,000 and $600,000. I mean, there may be more cuts to be made. So I just,
Okay,
you
sure.
know,
I thought we had discussed, or
we-
unfortunately, the two have to eliminate that position should the override fail, but if it was moved around.
that's where we started February 1st.
Right.
But we continued to meet and work and work and meet and meet and work and work and meet. And now came up with this recommendation to get to $2 million as of this evening.
And as far as the district office, we are understaffed. I'd like to see that .8 deleted with something else, but we'll have to come up with something else to do it, because we are understaffed at the top. And and it's 40,000, so to me, what is it? Cutting out a whole,
No, it affects more than one person, the .8.
yeah. And how about the, like, say, a person going from full-time to short hours? How is that impacting someone like that?
Yes. We don't,
And a whole full position, too?
no, there's no whole full position at this point. Again, we tried to balance it and spread it out, so that impacts a number of people. And I also want to continue to remind the school committee and the district as well that the assistant superintendent's position was a combination of 2 positions to 1. So there already was again, we've done nothing but reduce every single year. We've never had a year to say, let's add something new and fresh and inviting. Ever since I've been here.
Well, if it helps, when I was here, there were 3 art teachers in Shepherdville. That has been a reduction for a very long time.
So again, every one of these is unacceptable from our perspective.
Oh, absolutely.
I think we can say it's unacceptable from our perspective.
For sure.
Yeah.
I was just trying to figure out how we got to that. But then I do have another question that maybe isn't on here, just the professional development, and not even about the professional development, but there was like a professional development or a curriculum study we had talked about, that was a big number. Is that still in the budget, or we had taken that out?
curriculum study.
That's the
We-
DCRSD professional development.
It was
That's
just-
$40,000.
Former member Terry brought that up, so it's in there.
It's still included in here?
No, it's,
Oh,
yeah, it's
it's
included as
taken.
reduction.
Okay,
Yeah.
this is what is being, that's the
Yes.
reduction right here. Okay, I just wanted
Right.
to confirm. Okay,
Which helped us
that's-
not completely
Instead
eliminate
of-
one whole administrative assistant.
Gotcha, okay, just partial
Yep.
elimination, okay. And one other thing that I saw was, there was a budget line item for school committee at like a 90, what does that cover?
Membership to MASC and in your conference and other incidental costs that the committee incurs.
It just seemed like a very high number.
How much do we actually expend in a year? Do we do
What
it
did
to
you
offset?
say, Kelly? It
It seemed like a high number, I think it was like a
I know, but I
$90,000
don't
number.
think we've ever used that much, right?
So can that be?
Again, I want to remind the committee that a lot of the line items may seem high, but it's what cycles into E&D to offset the following fiscal year until a community or you as a committee want to break that cycle and add an extra $1 million to our budget, then there will be more budget reality in budgeting. But that was long before Rich got here and before I got here. So if that system wants to change, it's going to cost an additional $1 million to change that system. So it's what towns do with free cash at the end of a fiscal year. They put it into their special town meeting in the fall and spend it some other ways if they didn't spend their budgets. But that's the system that we inherited. That's not. So in order to get out of that cycle, we'll need an additional $1 million. So instead of $994,000, we'd need $1.9 million to get out of that cycle.
Now, getting back to the school committee, can you reduce that number? Because that seems, I didn't check it, and that seems
Can we,
high.
let's get clarity on what the actual number is budgeted for school committee.
So included under that area
spent the
that,
same.
that's been brought up, for dues and meetings, there's about $9,700. For CPAC, there's $2,000, which was an add-on a couple of years ago.
Which pays for MassPAC membership and
Yep.
other things.
For miscellaneous expenses, it's $5,000. For legal services, $35,000.
And that is legal services for the district?
Yes.
Okay.
For auditing,
That makes sense.
for
Okay.
auditing expenses, it's $40,000. And for the GASB 45 study, it's a $5,000 line item.
Well, the
not-
legal,
We're not
right.
spending that.
So
I got you.
80,000
The
of the
full rest,
96,000
that makes more
is, not really school, it's under the purview of school committee, but not direct expenses on behalf of school committee.
Right.
You guys aren't getting $10,000 stipends, I'm not aware of, are you?
None.
That makes sense.
Thank you, I appreciate the clarification.
And I want to share that legal line is very, very low for a school district, but we manage it.
Does any members, before we open it up to any, before we move on, and then we'll go to public comment at the end, does any members have anything further?
I have something I want to read, I don't know if it's appropriate now or if in.
Is it
public
about
comment,
this?
but, Yeah, it's as a parent, but also committee member, it's kind of both. Sure. Okay. I typed it up to try and keep my thoughts organized. But everybody knows who I am, Jamie DeLovo from Charlton. I'm deeply concerned about what will happen to our schools if a second Dudleytown override fails. It's been said before, but it's truly the only way to say it. A failed override will be catastrophic to our schools. The potential losses to all schools will impact all children. Let's start with a reading specialist. When my youngest son was in 3rd grade, he did not meet the benchmarks for reading. He needed extra help. We depended on the support that came from the reading specialist to get him to grade level. Now he is a junior. He has been and is currently a student in advanced placement classes such as seminar, research, and English language. Without the support he received in 3rd grade, he may not have been able to succeed in this way. All students who require the support should have access to it. Next, a decrease of paraprofessionals. Paraprofessionals are the classroom teacher's left hand and sometimes the right. They are a pinnacle in supporting the classroom, from helping a student who might need a little encouragement or direction to just spending an extra minute or two listening to a student who maybe is worried about something or needs to go for a walk. In most cases, they do just as much as a classroom teacher. They are necessary and needed for those classrooms to succeed. My oldest son, who graduated last year, needed the support from paraprofessionals starting in kindergarten through middle school. Mrs. Dolan in kindergarten, we will never forget her and the so many ways that she helped him and the others who helped him over the year. And they gave the support that he needed to succeed. To lose any of them will hinder the success of any student in those classrooms. The potential loss of 18 teachers across all schools will increase classroom sizes and put more strain on the remaining teachers and paraprofessionals. This strain will be felt by all departments, including school adjustment counselors, the school psychologists, and special education departments as well, as they will most likely need to take on more students while their departments are downsized. Moving on to the mental health crisis that faces our children. This was an issue before COVID and has only increased since returning to normal learning. The loss of counselors, school psychologists, in addition to the loss of all middle school athletics and music in some way. The potential loss of these is, if the override fails, so many of these students seek out athletics as a way to maintain their mental health, as stated by Eloise. This is a devastating loss to many students. I also want to acknowledge our custodial staff. You walk into any of our schools and you notice that they all look clean and well kept. They have maintained high standards of cleanliness to maintain a safe environment for all students and staff. They are facing decreases across the district too. You may have noticed I focus on success of our students. With the pending cuts to the budget, it will be almost impossible to achieve success for our students. I've heard people mention that our school ranking against other regional districts, regional schools, you can bet that we'll drop even lower, not get better without a level service budget. That can only happen with a successful override. Lastly, and nobody really mentions this, but if you appreciate your financial value of your house, you can expect that to go down as well. We're going in the wrong direction as a school district. My family has benefited from all of our schools in this district, and I'm sitting at this table because I believe in our district. And all of our families for years to come deserve the same.
I would ask the administration, as we continue on our conversations I keep getting feedback, I'm sorry. As we continue on the conversations at our next meeting, I would like to see the impact to class size. If we were to increase class sizes in other areas, could we keep the full-day kindergarten? I just worry that if we move to a lottery for half-day K, you're gonna have the haves and have-nots, and it's not fair to our students, and it's not fair to our community members. I think that, for the people that get a half-day and can afford to send their child out, that's great, but some people cannot. And I worry about equity for all our students. Yes.
Madam Chair, we'll certainly take a look at that and increase, just keep in mind, increased class size means a increase in reductions of gen ed teachers.
I understand.
Okay, I just want to make sure that,
I just think we need to just see what is the impact, so that we fully understand. I don't think anything's acceptable.
I also think with the half-day, you're looking at a bus and transportation cost associated with that as well. So we said half-day was a non-starter. I would like to keep it that way, but I know it will be tough to find those other things.
Okay. So why don't we move on and just discuss the feasibility study, and then we'll go back and make sure that we take some public comment and public questions, I imagine.
Madam Chair, I did, as I indicated at the last meeting, and I've included in the packet, and it's in the public packet as well, I did have to write a letter to MSBA to ask for a 30-day extension on the feasibility study for the Shepherd Hill Regional High School. I was on the phone with them today. It looks like we're going to get approved through some back and forth dialogue. They completely understand the complexities of a regional school district, but they did make it clear to me that if funding is not secured within the 30 days, we would have to go back to the starting point on an SOI for Shepherd Hill Regional High School. We would no longer be in their grant program. I thought that they may give us one more shot at it after that, but they're moving on from us if we do not secure Dudley's funding of $463,000 by the end of June, by June 28th, 2023.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you. Did you want to go to these slides?
I only put those in there just in case questions came up again,
Okay.
but I didn't want to keep going on those, in case
Okay.
feasibility questions came up. I just want to make sure people still had the information, because it seems to creep up in every meeting we have.
Okay.
Okay?
Did any of our members have any questions on feasibility and how Dudley is handling it in their vote?
No, but it might be worth mentioning.
Okay.
This one.
Rich, would
I-
you be,
I
you
can
can,
go.
okay, great.
Madam
thank you.
Chair, and school committee and the public, it is our understanding after attending a meeting last Thursday that the town of Dudley moved forward with funding the feasibility study as a capital exclusion, which would be a one-year increase to the taxes for the residents and businesses for the town of Dudley. One of the main reasons why they moved in that direction is because the debt for the municipal complex is coming off the books. And that's a value of right around $400,000. So with a request of $463,000, ultimately the $63,000 on top of any other increase in taxes would be the impact to the taxes, increase to the taxes. It seemed like a exceptional plan in every way. So that's how Dudley has moved, but it will still require a town meeting vote, as well as a town meeting warrant vote, as well as a ballot question for capital exclusion on June 12th, 2023.
And I believe, and please correct me if I'm wrong, when the debt comes off and they put this on, the impact to the tax rate for that year is roughly 10 cents?
Madam Chair, because we don't calculate out tax rates
Right,
and stuff for
we
the
do
town,
not.
I prefer not to
Okay.
say those figures, because
Okay.
10 cents could be 10 cents tonight and 11 cents tomorrow, and
Sure.
As a superintendent of school committee, we shouldn't be in that position to present that value.
And that levy on the taxes is just for 1 year, and then it's gone away. So that's a good thing. That's not going to be over a period of 5 years, 10 years, or whatever. It's
Right.
just that 1 year.
Right.
And we'll have the money for the
Okay.
feasibility study.
Great, and you did not need any votes on anything further, correct?
Nope.
No, we have the assessment for the
Okay.
updated capital.
Okay. Does the committee have any more questions? And we can check back to see if you do after we do a little bit more public comment. Okay, why don't we move back to public comment? If anyone would like to come up.
You gonna set a time for it, or?
Well, we'll set, it's 9 o'clock. We'll set 30 minutes if that's okay. And remember, it's about 3 minutes per person. I'd ask that you respect that, and that way we can have as many people speak as we can. So, sure, come on up. And just a reminder, you're going to state your name and the town that you live in.
My name is Kathy Hurst from Dudley. 3 minutes is going to be hard.
I know.
Well, first, I just wanted to say something. Earlier, when you were discussing about kindergarten, my kids now my youngest are in their 30s. So, but they went to Mason Road, and it was 2 full days, 1 half. So it was Monday, Tuesday, morning, Wednesday, afternoon for the next group, afternoon Wednesday, full day Thursday and Friday. That's another, I don't know if that works as a budget-wise, but that was how it was done. I have a few questions first. When you were talking about team leaders, is that the same thing as what you would call the department heads at a high school level, or is that something different for stipends?
Pretty much,
Yeah, pretty much.
I believe. Maybe I'm wrong.
Do-
Middle school principals?
You-
Would you need the mic for this?
I think so. Sorry. Thank you.
I understand the concept of the team leaders at the middle school when my children were there, but I just wondered if the high school department heads were considered team leaders, or is that a different category?
The original question, are team leaders at the middle school like department heads?
Yeah, team leaders at the middle school attend to all the interdisciplinary activities and the like. It's not necessarily a curriculum leadership role. There's a possibility that we could have 4 English language arts teachers as team leaders at 4 grade levels, but it is not similar in terms of teacher leadership and experience.
I guess must be thinking of the high school then, because I had heard, and I believe it was at a March joint meeting where, in fact, it was Mr. Carmignani that was speaking about the budget at that time to FAA and so on, and he was talking about stipends for department heads.
Oh, that, if okay.
And he said that the department heads at the high school totaled $200,000 for the stipends, and for the after-school activities, it was $90,000 stipends.
I would say this, I would check that, because we don't allow him to talk about school things. But he was probably, there's department heads at the town level?
No, this was school.
Okay, so could have been, I don't know.
No, originally, we were looking at $2.7 million.
Right.
Department heads have been on there, but again, we're trying to
I was just wondering if-
minimize the decimation of full departments and stuff. But again, if the direction from the committee is to go back and look at department heads as a total value, to lessen some reduction somewhere else, we would certainly do that.
So that is something that hasn't been taken off the budget yet, stipends for department heads.
A portion of that were presented tonight, $25,000 worth tonight.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
All right. Do you have any retirees going to be happening this year?
Minimal.
Minimum.
And we're doing what we normally do, we unfill them.
Okay. And I have something about the override later, just I'll try to talk fast. As far as the ESSER money that you got, it started in 2020? And do you know what it was for each year, or did it come as a lump sum, or?
We presented that on the past, and ESSER money is what's saving us to allow us to cut some school adjustment counselors, because we're still funding some through ESSER, but it's only for next year, and that's it. And then
Oh, I
it's
was going to
It's a
ask.
funding cliff after that.
Were there new hires with that ESSER money? And if so, are they staying on included in those cuts?
It's complicated because, as you know, as a former educator, we go through the RIF and non-professional status process.
I know that, yeah.
So funding for what, it's
It
here
doesn't
nor
matter.
there. It's not exact to say that it's going to be this person, that role, that one funded by us, or, it's to a T, but
And was that ESSER money, could it be used for operational budgets or just added positions?
what it can really be used for is to offset the consequences of going through COVID.
Right, okay. And there was something like $300,000 left from this year's ESSER money? Is that
No,
what-
it's more than that, I'd say.
More than that?
But a portion of that has to be set aside for actually instruction as well, for recovery or for the, I don't always like the term gaps created, but it's the loss of learning that occurred,
So that's going to be, continue to be used in
has to be used in
some
that way, yes.
fashion?
Yeah.
Mrs. Harris, can I ask, let's see who else has questions, and then you can come back.
Okay, I just had one more, but so I'll come back.
Thank you. Whoever wants to go next. You're a
Yeah,
familiar
thanks.
face,
I
but you
really
might want to state
appreciate
your
this
name.
time letting me come up and talk to you again. I don't know that I'll keep it under 3 minutes either, though. So I actually.
You gotta state your name.
Yep, sorry. Jamie Terry, Town of Charlton, in case you forget my face. I won't do this every meeting, I promise. As a matter of fact, I don't think I'll do it a lot. I wanted to actually start, if I could, by asking a question to the elementary level principals that came up. My understanding is we already have 102 students signed up, enrolled for kindergarten for Mason Road, and I think I heard 125 for Charlton Elementary School already signed up, and we're early still on that. And so my understanding is that would put us at 25 to 26 students already in those 4 classes. And so we're already higher in the number of students per classroom than we set as our acceptable level. And we're not even at the point of, we know this is the number that's gonna come in. Is that accurate to say?
That's with the recommendation of pulling that extra kindergarten teacher as part of our reductions.
That's with the reduction?
That's with the
Correct.
So we go from 5 to
Correct,
4.
correct. So I'm looking at this reduction saying, that's putting us over our number of students that we find acceptable in the lowest level, learners that need the most understanding of how to even be in school. Okay. And I also wanted to say to this committee, to this administration, to everybody, I don't think any of this is acceptable. I've heard that said. I hope you all know that. But we said no half-day kindergarten as it was a non-starter. That was the only thing on that list that we said we would not even entertain. And so I'm really disappointed that that's being talked about tonight. I think it's disingenuous, and I feel like that's not something that we should put forward tonight. I'm kind of baffled that it's even on here. And then I guess if I'm gonna go down that road, I'm gonna say next is, it's a lot harder to be on this side than just to be on that side. That we've always said, or that it's always been said for the past 3 months, that the assistant superintendent would be a loss, and I don't mean that as a personal anything, but that's been on there for 3 months. And now tonight to come and hear that it's no longer there, and I heard you, Mrs. Carmignani, say how much money that saved our district, and I absolutely believe it did in the grants that Dr. Ackerman has been able to bring in. That's been huge to us, and I don't think anything on this list is acceptable. But it's not a forward-facing student position. And so that's a position that doesn't face-to-face with the students. And if we're here sitting at this table, everybody in this room, we're here for the students. That's what our goal is. That's everything that we're doing here. And so my understanding of how we need to come at this is to hope it never happens, to do everything we can in our power, to go stand and hold signs, to talk to every Dudley representative we can, every Dudley voter. I think so many of us at this table already are doing that, and will continue to. But when we look at these cuts and where they have to come from, I don't know how we don't start with the end game of our students have to be our first priority. And in doing so, cutting first non-student facing positions is where I think we have to look at it. So that's that one conversation. I actually went up and talked to Mr. Elwell, I guess earlier in this meeting, so I understood a little bit better about that department head's elimination, because I had that number down of $250,000 from previous conversations as well. I can appreciate that $25,000 is what's on here, and there needs to be some level of department heads. I think that needs to maintain. I can appreciate that. It's still not acceptable. We can't cut anything. And again, those are non-student facing positions. That's why I'm looking at that as well. It's going to bring me down to and I had professional development curriculum study. I didn't understand that was what you guys had on there, because I had the number of $43,680. And so if that is going to be completely eliminated, I appreciate that. I think that, again, that's a non-student facing cut that we would have to have. I'm not close to 1 minute. I appreciate that. I will do it again. And then it's going to bring me to this loss of the middle school's health. I'm going to start with my profession is going to tell me that that's not something that I think we can lose, but I'm going to continue with, we are in a mental health crisis in this country, and I don't know how we could even consider that that's something to put on the table. And you can ask me where to cut from, and I've stayed up at night to try to think of where to tell you that we could cut from. Health classes impact every single student at the middle school level right now. Music, chorus classes do not. And so if you're going to ask me where to cut, I'm going to say, music did not take an impact to what you guys have presented tonight at the middle school level. Yet we've continued to say athletics and music would take equal impacts, everything would take an impact. So if we're going to talk about this, if we cut out chorus classes, you'd still have general education, you'd still have band, and you'd be able to offer, right now with everything that hasn't changed, show choir at the middle school. So you'd be able to offer an option for people to go sing if they wanted to in that manner. That's my suggestion.
Mrs. Terry, your time is up.
I have one more thing to say.
Nope. You can come back.
Okay, I'll come back.
Thank you. I gotta be fair. Okay, next.
Hello, I am Anya Kennedy. I'm the school librarian at Shepherd Hill. And I was here almost exactly 1 year ago to ask you all to reconsider cutting the middle school librarian's position. That position was already moving between 2 middle schools, a situation which was not ideal for teachers or students. Of course, it's much worse now that there's no middle school librarian at all. Before I was hired, about 7 years ago, this district had a librarian in each middle school and one in the high school. Our elementary schools, I'm actually not 100% sure if they ever had certified librarians, but I know that they've been the target of many cuts over the years. Unfortunately, those positions, as important as they are often among the first to go when a budget crisis looms in this district. Today, I'm here to ask you to just think about the effects of the additional proposed cuts to the district's school libraries. And I just want to say I'm not here because I don't want my job to be cut. I can look for work in another district. I'm here because I believe so strongly in the value of school libraries and in the importance of having certified school librarians to staff those school libraries. So I understand that the budget forecast is grim. I understand that difficult decisions need to be made. But I've also been hearing the following phrases about this difficult time, such as shared sacrifices and reductions in service and not eliminating programs entirely. Well, I am the last certified librarian in this entire district of 7 schools. I'm already a department of 1. If you cut the high school librarian position and the instructional assistants in the elementary schools' libraries, library programming in this district will be eliminated, not reduced, completely eliminated. It's already about as low as it can go. How will the district ensure student access to the resources they need to do their very best and to have the same opportunities and be as prepared as students in other districts? If the high school librarian position is eliminated, I want to make it clear that other valuable resources will be eliminated as well. High school students and teachers will no longer have access to the state's databases for research. Currently, we don't purchase any databases. We rely solely on the ones that are available through the state. They will not be able to use the library website to access current articles and other media from online encyclopedias, newspapers, magazines, and journals, all of which are found in these databases. They will no longer have access to Sora and the huge collection of ebooks and audiobooks in both English and other languages that we subscribe to through the Massachusetts library system. This is not something that teachers can simply take on themselves. These resources are only available to schools that have a certified school librarian on staff. So just to be clear, these services are already not available in any of the schools except for the high school, and they are only available in the high school because I'm here. It's already clear to everyone who works in the building that it's a struggle to foster a culture of reading and inquiry and academic research in the high school. It doesn't help when our students have not had equal access to librarians across the district. When they get to the high school, most of them still don't know how to use a library and its many resources. Through collaborations with teachers and on my own, I have guided their research, introduced them to resources, and modeled and supported a love of independent reading. Information literacy and its instruction is something all students need to be productive and engaged citizens, both in school and out of school. I could go on for a long time about why libraries matter. It's something I'm really passionate about, but I know my time is limited. So I will say this, just as I said it 1 year ago. One of the most beautiful things about a library is its ability to operate as an equalizing force. When staffed by professionals, they are open and accessible to every single person in the building, and even more widespread with an online platform to reach teachers, students, and parents. Librarians are trained to provide timely, varied, and relevant resources to all kinds of learners. And it's also worth mentioning that libraries are safe spaces. They provide a nurturing environment for students to discover their interests, and they are the most collaborative spaces within every school building. In this case, shared sacrifice is actually pretty accurate because the librarian is one of the few positions that impacts every single student and teacher in the building. Losing the position is a huge sacrifice for the entire school. Thank you. Just felt like I needed to put that on record.
Thank you so much.
My name's Shannon Sullivan. I'm a special education teacher at Shepherd Hill. I wanted to speak on behalf of the library as well. As many of you know, special education students struggle significantly with reading. And since I've started here, Anya has helped me have our most struggling readers find not only a love of reading, but a place where they feel safe. At any given time when you're in this library, there are students here that may not feel comfortable anywhere else. They eat lunch here, they come here on their studies, they meet here after school. This library is a lot more than a library. Anya has made it so that this is a place where students and staff feel safe to gather and feel like they can learn together and learn about different things, but also be part of something more than themselves. If you look at any of these displays here, these aren't just Anya. Anya has student aides that work in here and work with her and help put these together. Every single part of this library is touched by students, and if Anya's not here to lead them and to guide them, it's gonna be a pretty lonely part of this building.
Hi, my name is Katie Peel, and I live in Charlton. I realize I am preaching to the choir coming up here, and I so appreciate all of the support the school committee has given to our district and the teachers and the students. I just would like to go on record to share how devastating this could really be for our community. Unfortunately, this Friday I was informed that I would no longer have a home at Mason Road School if the town of Dudley does not vote for level services. While this news is heartbreaking to me personally because I was really hoping I could retire from Mason Road, what is so much more devastating is to think about the impact that this will have on our students and our community. I have been lucky enough to make connections with students and families for 4 years at Mason Road, and I've even been able to teach a handful of students for 2 years as their kindergarten teacher and their first grade teacher. I am so sad to think about how much they'll be impacted in their futures in this district if this doesn't go through. Thinking of the larger class sizes with lack of support from paraprofessionals, lack of support from guidance members, less opportunity for extracurriculars to express themselves. I know that ultimately I'm going to be okay. I will find a job. It's not about me. But I will truly miss my Mason Road family, which includes 2 interns from Shepherd Hill who have made connections with my students and who have really shown me the depth of commitment in this community. I'm sure that programs like this will unfortunately have to end. I truly hope that Dudley understands the sacrifices that will have to be made if the level services budget doesn't pass. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie.
Hi, everybody. Dave Smolsky from Charlton. I've just been jotting notes down as we've been listening tonight, so they might not flow all together. I apologize. First, congratulations to Jamie and Nicole. Glad to see you here at the table, despite stolen yard signs, so I'm glad it didn't affect the election. I agree with what Jamie said about sports. I do think sports definitely relates to mental health. Kids need outlets. And parents at home have been texting me, asking me to mention that here at the table tonight. I also agree with what you said. JV is a feeder pool for varsity. You can't expect these kids to compete at that level. And I know a lot of kids who've already told me they are looking to go outside of the district. So not trying to be threatening. It's just a reality these kids are talking about. No offense intended with this comment. I think at some point there was talk about eliminating the assistant superintendent position. I personally was surprised to see that the proposal we saw tonight has the position being reduced to a director level, saving just $20K. So just something I took note of. When it comes to libraries, like other folks, I think they're very important. I especially think they're more important at the lower levels. So I'm sure people would debate me and disagree with that. But at the elementary and middle school levels, I think they're mission critical. And that's also based on talking with kids in the district as well. Our oldest, he's going to be a senior at Shepherd Hill next year. Based on the budget conversations since January or February or so, along with other controversial topics, I'm just going to be honest, I'm glad that he is at the end of his career when it comes to being in the district. I also feel really badly for other families who are not quite as far along in this journey. So it's tough, it's a bit painful. Our youngest, he benefited dramatically from a reading specialist when he was at the elementary level. Now he's a straight A student at Bay Path. He's a varsity athlete as a freshman. And these things have been mission critical to molding him as a student and a young gentleman. Another probably unpopular comment, but I see foreign language at the middle school as a nice to have, not a must have. And I think that the conversation is about nice to have and must have. I personally didn't take a foreign language until high school. Took 4 years of Spanish, learned the same thing every year. Maybe that was just my unique experience, but I don't think it's mandatory. A question I have, and is probably a very logical answer, if we're saving almost $2 million on the roofs, how does that factor in? And it might just be we're going to have less debt that we won't have to pay over time, but I heard there's going to be some savings. I wonder how that factors into things. And yeah, I guess I'm going to reiterate, I think, what Mrs. Terry said. I think it's really important to think about what impacts the kids directly, student-facing, versus what's happening maybe in the back end behind the scenes. I understand there's arguments for both ways, but that was a comment that really struck a chord with me. Thank you.
Yes, go ahead.
Just real quickly, yes, it's a capital expense. It's not part of the operational budget. So it's the assessment and it's the debt over time. It can't flow. $2 million in savings from capital projects can't flow into the operating budget.
Anyone else?
Hello. A lot of you already know me, Rachel Lemansky from Charlton. I'm in a unique position in that I am both an employee of the district and the parent of 4 lovely children. Make no mistake, this guts our district. I didn't write a whole thing, and I've kind of changed what I wanted to say, so this might be a little disjointed. I think I need to start with the first issue of shared sacrifice, and this is nothing personal. But again, you're cutting school counselors, and you're cutting kindergarten teachers, librarians and reading specialists, people that directly support our students every day with an immediate effect. People that know their names and their stories and support them every single day in the classrooms, in the schools. I don't know a single parent that would support the choice of a title change for assistant superintendent and cutting these people that support our children directly, because that effect, when they are cut, will be immediate and profound, and, for lack of a better word, in their face every day. I have to echo Anya also with the whole reduction versus elimination. I keep hearing we're not going to eliminate entire departments, but you are, because you've eliminated middle school library, and now you're proposing to eliminate high school and elementary library. She is 100% correct about the loss of databases and Sora and all the resources that we get for free from the Massachusetts State Library Association because we have a licensed librarian. And we can, Anya, just so you know, we can access those in other schools. But it is because we have a licensed librarian in DCRSD. And I've heard parents say, oh, well, the English teachers teach them that. They can only teach them that because they can access it because we have a licensed librarian. I also hear a lot of parents say that library is most important at the elementary levels. I think There are a lot of arguments for all of that, and either way. I'm in school to get my certification. I believe strongly that every school deserves a certified librarian. I would propose that if the community really feels that we need library in elementary more than in other schools, we need a licensed librarian in the district. We have 1 in 7 schools. If the parents and the community really feel that the elementary level is the most important level to have library at, then take our licensed librarian, who is amazing, and put her in elementary. This is not about me. I have over 700 students, and I can tell you every one of their names and all of their stories. But my value doesn't come from you giving me a job. It comes from their little faces. And I know the impact I've had, and I know my value. But I do know the value of a licensed librarian. And I do know the value of that introduction in elementary school and that support. And I mean, you want to cut reading specialists, you need library, you need that support. And she is key. So I know most of you expected me to come up here and argue for my own job, and I'm not. I'm arguing for the position. I'm arguing for the position because the position is what's important. And like I said, I know the impact I've made. I've felt it in a million ways. And I am so grateful for all my students and all of my colleagues. But we need to make hard decisions. And we can't afford to lose library altogether. My last point, getting back to the people that affect our students directly. You have heard high school students speak so eloquently about mental health. That is their focus. You've heard Eloise, hi Eloise, speak so eloquently about the need in the middle school. Your parents have told you that mental health is key right now. Your students have told you. Our littlest students can't tell you with words, but they tell us every day with their actions. And we're looking at cutting adjustment counselors. I know parents don't see everything that goes in the schools. Again, I'm in a unique position, and it's why I really am passionate about getting a sensory room in the schools. But even school committee doesn't see everything that goes on in the schools. And I will tell you that class size doesn't matter if you have one highly dysregulated student in there. Whether that teacher has 10 students or 30 students in front of them, if you have one highly dysregulated child, there is no teaching and no learning happening because things have to shut down in order to help our little friend. Those adjustment counselors are key because they're there every day, because they're with our friends every day. You can't say to a 7-year-old, you're gonna have to hold this thought because our counselor's not back till Thursday. It doesn't work that way. They need someone there every day. We have kept kids in school because of that support. Outplacing costs a lot more money than an adjustment counselor. So again, I hope it doesn't get to the point where school committee has to take action on any of this. But if you do, you really need to consider who is directly supporting our children, your children. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I ask, we've reached the 30 minutes. Does the school committee mind extending for about 20 more minutes? Are we okay with that? Okay, thank you.
Good evening. My name is Kim Lundquist. I'm from Dudley. I am a graduate of Shepherd Hill. My kids have come to school through the school system, and I'm a kindergarten teacher. I just wanted to, one of the speakers brought up that we had two full days and a half-day kindergarten program years ago. The sequence of kindergarten, when I was in kindergarten, it was half-day. You came AM, you came PM. That lasted through the 70s, 80s, and into the early 90s. In the 90s, and I'm not sure when in the 90s, it changed to 2 full days and 1 half day. And then I believe it was 2001, 2002, when the middle schools opened and the wing at Mason Road opened, is when we had full-day kindergarten. So we have had full-day kindergarten for 20 plus years. Full-day kindergarten has changed from when my 25-year-old was there to what I teach on a daily basis now. So when you talk about the curriculum, it is very different. So I want the community to know what the impacts are for the students and what they will be for the little kiddos that are coming into my classroom. It's going to be very different. Way back, my kids were learning how to read cat, dog. They were learning how to count. Now our kids are learning how to do addition. They're learning how to do subtraction. They are reading words like shark, thick, chunk. Those are the expectations that are set forth for our kindergarten kids. So that's kind of what I want to say about kindergarten. I do have a question, and I think at this point, busing is still at a reimbursement rate of 100%. No? Okay. So if you are going to go to an AM/PM session on each side of the district, has there been a cost estimate associated with adding a AM home bus run and a noontime bus run to get the kids home in the morning, to get the kids in the afternoon? And how does that compare to the salaries of a kindergarten teacher and a kindergarten assistant? I don't know if that's been compared at all, because that could be a huge cost.
So we've requested a quotation on that information, but haven't received the final numbers yet.
Thank you. Anybody else? Sure.
Hello, my name is Heather Blanchard. Oops, sorry. I'm a Dudley resident. I'm also in, it's been said, but a unique position. I happen to be fortunate enough to work at both the middle school and the elementary school level as an ESL teacher. I see the children from 2nd grade up through 8th grade. They definitely, with COVID, post-COVID, there have been a lot of issues. They definitely we can't afford to take away the adjustment counselors. Library, we're talking about how students are coming in to, we can't get, oh my gosh, I shouldn't be up here, I'm sorry. We're talking about how, where are we going to get our varsity football or varsity sports if we don't have readers at the elementary level, if we don't have readers at the middle school level? We're not going to have readers and functioning students and successful students at the high school level. As far as you had said, going back to see your former teachers, I see my middle school students coming back. Some of them, they have family members that work in the elementary school. They come, they are so excited to see their former teachers. I've been here for 28 years. I've been fortunate enough to be in this district for 5. I had worked in a previous district where overrides were not passed, where people had children who had obviously gone out of the district, graduated from the district, were grown, voters did not feel that they needed to vote in favor of an override because why? My children are not in the district. My children are grown, 25, 23. They went through the district. Mrs. Marderosian, my son still loves you. The teachers that make an impact on these kiddos, and it's going to be devastating. It's absolutely going to be devastating. I understand that it's a situation that no one wants to be in. but we have had some passionate people come up tonight. I had the good fortune of working with Katie in summer school, the summer school program. She's fantastic. We can't afford to lose people like this. Obviously, I love Rachel. Anya's wonderful. You hear wonderful things. I know you all know. But I just wanted to come up, and as a Dudley resident, I wish that I could reach people. I wish that I could explain to them. It's not just our kids being in the schools, it's everyone's, it's the future. And we really, really need to support them as best we can. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good.
Hello, my name is Evan Bartlett. I am the middle school band teacher at Charlton Middle School. And I felt I'd be remiss if I didn't come up and sort of talk about my choral colleagues. I want to urge caution. I know that there needs to be balances. I know that there needs to be cuts, and I know literally no one in this room is happy right now. I am well aware of all of that. But I want to make sure that if we're going to do cutting, I don't like that word, but if we're going to cut things, that there is a balance in that, because I am where I am now because of band, obviously. But just as much was my time as a chorus student, as a chorus teacher in my previous district, as a 3-sport athlete all through school, because I don't know if you noticed when I walked up here, but like I got recruited pretty quickly. And I have no idea how that balance is going to happen. That is for greater minds than mine. I count to 4 for a living. Leave that to minds far sharper than mine. But I want to urge caution, because that chorus program is just as important as that band program is, as that football, as that any of these things are. And I'm not saying, like, the pain's going to happen, and it should be spread. But I want to make sure that we're not prioritizing one thing over another, that we're trying to like balance as much as humanly possible, because, for example, chorus and band were equally important. They are the 2 of the biggest reasons why I am the man that I am today. And that's why I'm here to darken your doorsteps now. So, again, just as we move forward, wholesale anything, like taking one thing and moving it from the day while prioritizing another, I would strongly advocate against that for whatever that's worth. And thank you.
Thank you.
I know that I cut Miss Hurst and Miss Terry off a little bit, so if you want to come back, and I offered that too, so feel free.
Kathy Hurst, Dudley, and I can't follow those eloquent speeches with what I wanted to ask. Mine is just more of a practical number question. I know that back in 2019, there was an override that did pass for 1.544333. And my question is, once that money, because it's an override, it's permanent, but did the school get that money after the first year that it was earmarked for? Or do you continue, it's supposed to be going to, or does it go to the town and get dispersed to, we don't know where?
So both communities have continued providing the district with that funding that was approved by the voters.
So the school continues to get that? Okay. Because I just wanted to make sure that that wasn't just a one-and-done deal for you. All right, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Hurst, can I ask you a question?
Mm-hmm.
What can we, as a school committee, do to help the voters understand the importance, and, what more can we be doing to reach out?
Well, I was on the other side of this for about 37 years. I was a teacher in Webster for 30 years, and then in Uxbridge, and on as an after-school tutor. But it's hard to know where to cut. That's why I brought up something like stipends that won't cut a position, but would cut a chunk of money out of the budget. And my children, when they came through Dudley, my son was in sports, my daughter was in show choir at the middle school and high school level, so I do see where all those things are very important, and they prospered from those experiences, and I would like to see that to continue for all of our children.
Thank you. We do too. Ms. Terry.
Thank you, Jamie Terry, Charlton. I won't take the 3 minutes this time. I've consolidated. I have a question. If athletics, if this does not pass in Dudley and athletics is maintained as a loss, is there going to be an option for families to pay? And I know that was brought up earlier, but it was, I have the numbers. It's 407 middle school athletes between Dudley and Charlton together. And the total that was listed on this presentation is $57,000. So that'd be roughly $140 per student per sport. And so that seems to be in line with what show choir parents pay currently at the middle schools. And so I want to understand if that's going to be an option. I did hear somebody, I'm sorry, I don't remember who said it, say that that's not an equivalent cost. It's not going to be, that's not the only cost, maybe it was said, and so that may not be able to support directly for the school athletics, but that's the number that we're talking about as a loss. And so I'm wondering if that's going to be an option for families.
Madam Chair, that's up to the school committee. Again, we brought forward fee structures this year, and the school committee took no action on changing the fee structures or increasing them or anything at this point in time. So moving forward, they certainly could. Even though that's the reduction, that may not be the totality of it, because there are connections between other levels of athletics as well. You know, if freshmen and JV are cut, so you're looking specifically at middle school, that would come close to it, obviously, but the school committee would have to set a fee rate for that, yes.
Okay, and to that point, JV and freshmen did not, the number is not the same. It's 208, there's 150 students-ish, and I don't have that exact number, but I'm going through the data that I had pulled together through the athletic director. And so that's 150 students, and that number was 42,000 that was listed on this presentation, and so that's like $280 per athlete, per sport. And so that seems like a lot harder of a number to handle for families. It doesn't seem in line with the show choir, so. And then the only thing I wanted to say is more really to the public. I went back through my notes through presentations that we've been provided through school committee, and our losses have already totaled $1 million. And I think it's been said, but I don't know that it's actually been stated what they are recently. And so if we're going to talk about losses that we're talking about now, please take into account the fact that our district has already lost $1 million FY21 to FY24. That's one STEAM director, that's 4 Shepherd Hill teachers, that's 1 kindergarten teacher already cut before we're even talking about this. That's 5 middle school teachers, that's 1 middle school librarian, that's 3.4 elementary teachers, and 1 district office data specialist. So when we talk about losses that we've already had, that's the losses we've had recently. That's not losses we're talking about from years past. That's losses that are recent. And so this is in addition to those losses that we've already had. And so I know it was stated at the Dudley Board of Selectmen and Dudley Finance Committee, but tell us what losses you're willing to take. We've already taken these losses. And so our district cannot continue to survive and thrive with any more losses, never mind the level that was presented tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we have one more.
Hi, my name is Madison McNamara, a sophomore student athlete at Shepherd Hill Regional High School. Currently coming from a track meet, I am proud to say I am a 3-season student athlete. However, in the years to come, if the budget doesn't pass, upcoming students might not be as lucky as I am to pursue an academic and athletic high school career. I am a strong believer that sports clubs and any after-school activities differentiate one student from another. Furthermore, I am a daughter of a Charlton Middle School health teacher, Mr. McNamara, His action and role as a middle school health teacher teaching important subjects such as drugs, safety, and mental health has not gone unnoticed. On May 5th, 2023, I had found out my dad could potentially get laid off if the budget doesn't pass. Finding out this news put myself in a very stressful state of mind. Furthermore, it was obvious Mr. Mack has changed a lot of lives. So thank you for your time. I hope hearing my word as a student and a daughter of an impacting teacher will advocate for our students in the district, as this will change our lives drastically.
Do we have anybody else? Come on in. I think that'll be our last one.
Could I say something?
Yep, this is our last public comment.
Hello, my name is Daniel Duffy. I went through the Dudley Charlton school system entirely from kindergarten until I was a senior in 2006, and I have been a science teacher at Shepherd Hill for the last 9 years. I look over this list of proposed cuts, and I know that pretty much everyone in this room agrees that they are all unacceptable. Cutting the last librarian in a school district where our job is to educate kids seems crazy. Going to half-day kindergarten means we are going to be starting our kids off behind the starting line from other schools. We're talking about cutting foreign language from the middle schools entirely. It's 2 teachers, but it's an entire program. We are looking at cutting JV sports, music, clubs, activities. This would essentially be the beginning of the end for the Dudley school system, without a doubt. And I would never presume to come up here and vie for one of these positions over another because I think they're all incredibly important. And I know that our leadership team has spent hours and hours and hours doing that. So if you're watching this meeting and you think these things are unacceptable, or if you or your child was ever affected by a health teacher or sports program or a music program or fell in love with foreign language and traveled abroad in schools, if they ever did those things, then please vote. Talk to people about this, because what we need is money. Cutting any of these is insane. I work at Shepherd Hill, and I look at things like cutting special education teachers when we already don't have enough of them, cutting a school nurse, cutting department coordinators who help hire and coordinate curriculum, but cutting athletics and music stipends and clubs. And everybody who spoke is correct. It will hurt the music programs that are left. It will hurt the varsity sports if there are no feeder programs. And it will ultimately come back and hurt the community. Our students are not going to be competitive when applying for schools if they have no extracurriculars. They're not going to be getting the scholarships they would have gotten had they played on a sports team since the 7th grade, or joined a choir in the 7th grade, or were lucky enough to have a full day of kindergarten and a reading specialist if they were struggling. So to anybody watching, the 103 of you that watch these meetings, please talk to your friends, talk to your neighbors, because we need money. Thank you.
Thank you. Nobody else, right?
I think.
Oh, one more. Go one more.
So my name is Lynn Bond, Linnea Bond. That's what my parents called me. And I've been teaching in Dudley school system for 30 years. I teach health education. I taught at Heritage for 7 years, and I have been now teaching at the middle school for the last 23 years. I think my heart, and maybe that's not the right place to speak from, is from the point of view of all teachers. They can kid around and say, well, I teach at a school because I hate kids and I like to make their lives miserable and I get to be with them all the time. But reality is they love kids. And it's not just their subject matter. I teach health education. I could talk about it and its impact on mental health, and the relationships that are built and how we work together with the counselors in the school. But the main thing is, anytime a kid has a relationship with an adult, it's valuable, especially at their formative ages. and all the way through. And when you take any adults away from kids, and I know it's a money thing, but you take adults away from kids, it can impact the whole course of their life. And I have 10 kids. They were all impacted by teachers in Dudley Charlton in different ways, from special ed to athletics to AP. They all learned to fly. They learned to excel because of the impact different teachers had on their lives. So, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. I'm going to bring it back into where we're back into the discussion. You wanted to start first, Olivia.
Yeah. So, unfortunately, I only have 8 school days left before I graduate. And I feel for my fellow students, not just in the high school, but all the way down to the middle school and Heritage, and all the way down to the elementary school, because, you know, I might be leaving, but they're all affected by this. Personally, like, especially with the librarian, I came in here one day and I was like, I do not know how to use the copying machine. And Miss Kennedy had the time to she was like, just press this button, girl. And I was literally standing there. I was like, this is crazy. And I did not know how to do that before I got help. Librarians are important. Learning how to use Britannica, that's like a huge source in writing essays, super helpful. And we don't have access to that without a librarian. Health teachers, my mom is a health teacher. You know, I can't stress the importance of like sex education and mental health and just in general health, like the name of the class. But, you know, it's difficult. It really is. This is devastating. A major blow, and I've heard kids talking, show choir kids, you know, joking, but at the same time, maybe they're not joking about moving to different schools because their department is struggling. Sports kids joking, but maybe not really joking about moving to a different district, maybe even Bay Path. It's hard, you know. I was lucky enough to be in this school system and have a librarian when I was in middle school and not have to really worry about this and kind of be oblivious to it, but it's hard, you know.
Thank you, Olivia. It is hard. Do we, you know, I think it's fair of us if we can give our administration a little guidance on, you know, do we want to see something else for next time? You know, do you want to see some different options? Does anyone have any?
I can't imagine there's any more options left on the table. I mean, I'm not sure there's much left. I don't know.
I will say, I think we had all agreed to not have half-day K. And you know, I appreciate, I don't know where it's going to come from. I don't. And I think we talked about not eliminating programs, and we heard tonight about eliminating the librarian. That eliminates lots of resources for our students. I worry about us even being able to be accredited by not having a librarian, you know, things like that. So I'd like to look at that. Anybody else?
I would agree with the half-day thing. Hopefully we can, I don't know where, but it was a non-starter. I feel like we should just keep it as a non-starter. It's just moving our kids backwards to do that. But as far as where to cut it, I don't know.
Madam Chair, just a reminder, it's about $170,000 that you're requesting us to find somewhere else.
I still feel that we should cut the assistant superintendent. I'm sorry, that's how I feel. I think the people in the audience felt that way, and there's $130 that will, $130,000 that will go directly to our students.
Just to ask, for a moment of clarity. So also some of the comments were, of course, about, well, if this isn't going to happen, I'm going to get up and move. All right? And honestly, I think that's great. If you have the ability to, in the wealth, personal wealth, to be able to get up and move, that's wonderful. I don't. But talking about, oh, well, Bay Path. Now, how many kids does Bay Path accept from Dudley Charlton every year?
Anywhere between 70 and 90.
70 and 90, okay, total every year. How many children in the district do we have every year?
3,500, 3,600?
So it seems pretty disparate, if you're gonna look on statistics on how often your kid will get into Bay Path, since it's a 10-member town. And I just also wonder about people that love this community so much, that love these schools so much, are willing to say, well, I'll just get up and leave because it's not having the program I want, then instead of actually talking to your neighbor, talking to your friends, and having them go out and vote. Because I'm pretty sure any other town you move to will have a higher tax rate than Dudley. So sorry. Just a little upset.
Thank you. Does anybody else have anything further? Do you need anything further from us at this point?
So what I'm hearing is, it was your voice, but it's for the committee.
And that's, I guess it was my voice, so I'd like to see, did the committee feel that way, about the half-day K and?
I don't.
You don't?
I understand it, but when I think about it, and I'm like, it's another area where we could end up getting a chunk of money, and yes, I know it's not popular, but requirement by the state is a half day. And if we had to go down this horrible presentation and pick and choose, then I would work really hard to save those tier 2 teachers, and I would remove enrichment programs because, again, they're not required. I mean, granted, I know it's ripping a fabric from school. I do.
Yeah.
But, I'd rather make sure that our kids get a quality education and can read.
Yes.
As mentioned before, too, taking into consideration the transportation costs with the half-day, I think we need to also consider that additional cost when we consider a half-day.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it was a non-starter before. It sets the students behind in not meeting benchmarks, but we also have to take into consideration the increased cost of our transportation.
Madam Chair, again, all this is unacceptable.
Yes,
All.
yes.
And there's an argument for every one of these, and the value, every one of these has a value in our district. And so we took, as I talked about in my presentation, we listened to what we were presented. We were presented with half-day as not being, not every voice at this table said it, but as a committee, you were definitely driving that's not, so we didn't take, originally it was proposed as all half-day. So we took a piece of it. We originally had the assistant superintendent, but we heard at this table, if we cut this or we cut that, maybe we shouldn't lose that position in totality as well, because we need that support for principals and for teachers as well. So again, we tried to listen to that. So again, if the committee would like, I mean, we can come back and say, add half-day K back, add the, again, I'm only hearing from you as the chair of the librarian, add the librarian back, add the, take off the assistant superintendent. We can bring back another presentation, it will still be unacceptable.
No doubt.
Yep.
Right, it's all unacceptable.
All unacceptable.
So I mean, we definitely meet as administrative team. We, as Mr. Duffy said, this didn't just come out last week. We've been working on this for a very long time, which is why we keep rehashing and going back and forth, and why presentations and some information has changed over time. I wish what we presented February 1st was going to be exactly the same on May 10th, but that's virtually impossible. And we still have the probability of added cost for unemployment on top of all this.
Great. I just have a question, kind of moving forward. So, I mean, I know we've done all the meetings, for getting the information out there so that people aren't assuming that we're just coming back asking for the same thing because it's significantly different from that first. So are we utilizing every single possible outlet that we can to get that information out there? I'm not from Dudley, so I don't know what those avenues are, which papers they are, what's coming home from, I mean, I guess I see some of the communication from the principals and stuff, but just because it's kind of a time crunch now, and I feel like.
Remember, the one thing we can't be is political. So we can provide factual information, but we
Right.
can't be political. So I'm not sure what you mean for venues for us to go down. This is the political arm right here, you as school committee. So you're the communication channels for the political part of Dudley Charlton Regional School District.
Well, does it get put out into the news, like the Webster Times, I assume is what you get? Do they? Is
I have
anything
confidence
put in
that
there?
Jason Blue
Jason.
will write an article from this meeting, yes.
Okay. I don't know.
But again,
I'm
the
just
only
trying to think
political
how we can get that word out.
The only
here.
political arm of the district is you as school committee. I'd certainly be willing to write another editorial.
Thank you.
As a superintendent, I have no problems doing that.
Couldn't hurt, yeah, if you don't know.
Okay. Anybody else? Yes.
Madam Chair, before you adjourn, I want to just, again, this is an imperfect plan. We did our best to try to balance the reductions. It wasn't a fail-safe exact balance. We tried the best we could. Departments of one are very difficult to balance a reduction. Nobody wants it. Nobody wants to lose any one of these positions, and there's a value for every single one of these. You know, I'm not here to advocate for the assistant superintendent individually, but he has brought in over $1 million that has put the district forward when it comes to high-quality instructional materials over the past 3 years. Without that influx of funding, the district is not going to move forward. But with that said, I don't disagree with Member O'Coin that if we're going to reduce $2 million, I mean, we're going to get a grant for another $500,000 and ask people who are already overworked, reduced, devastated, dismantled morale in every single way to implement a new high-quality instructional material? No, we're not going to be able to do that. So certainly well taken, and we will certainly go back and try to rework some of this. But again, every one of them is unacceptable, and there will be an argument for every single thing that is put on a level-funded budget plan.
Thank you.
And I'll just add to that. I was a teacher for over 30 years, and as far as writing grants, I did a few, and so you probably could share these with people, and I know you're saying they're overworked as it is, but I am just thinking right now of the $130,000 that maybe we could use the kindergarten, something like that. And for a year or two, you'd have to probably just have teachers, principals write grants. That's my opinion.
I thought you were offering.
Yes, go ahead.
Madam Chair, Mrs. O'Quinn, I certainly don't disagree with some of the grants, but there is lots of hourly work hour, weekly work hours that go into these grants with DESE for high-quality instructional
And I
materials.
agree.
Dr. Ackerman can sometimes spend 8 hours on one of them, coordinating and working with DESE, and I'll come right out and say it, building that relationship with DESE for hours on end to get the grant. Because Dudley Charlton doesn't always fit in the tidy box for grants based off of our demographics. So Dr. Ackerman has to do a lot of work with individuals and building that relationship so that can Dudley Charlton please get in on this? I mean, I would never ask what Dr. Ackerman does for one of those grants. And I'm not disagreeing that we shouldn't look at that as a reduction. I would never ask a classroom teacher to do that. Again, as I've said all year since January, is above and beyond is expected in our district, and that's a problem. That's a problem.
Yeah.
And
And
that
I
has
just-
to end with support from our communities.
And I know the work because Mrs. Hurst and I had to write Title I grants. And that was making relationships and very in-depth. So I understand that. I'm just thinking of ways to get more money into other departments, but nothing's acceptable in this anyway.
Nothing is.
In this presentation. So we can find an argument for everything.
Okay. I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn. Second.
All those in favor? And that is unanimous. Thank you, everyone.